This podcast is a production of Mutant Donkey. If you like Mutant Donkey, please consider supporting us on our Patreon at patreon.com/Mutant Donkey. You can also follow us on Twitter at Mutant_Donkey. We also have a presence on YouTube at the Mutant Donkey channel, so please like and subscribe if you like this. Thank you.
Mute Donkey. 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 Donkey.
Mutant.
Donkey.
Podcast.
Mutant. Donkey.
Podcast.
Fair warning. The Mutant Donkey podcast may be inappropriate for people without a sense of humor or for people under the age of 30. Thank you for listening.
Do you need tech support?
You want pillow? Room service?
Housekeeping? You want towel? You want fluff pillow?
You want blowjob?
You want me to jerk you off?
So, don't forget to watch the latest episode of We Don't Know What We're Doing in Deep Rock Galactic on the Mutant Donkey channel, which I just posted today, May 10th, 2019. It shows us running around not knowing what we're doing and shooting each other. Apparently Justin shot Kandyman. And I have it in the video in the background, like running around trying to save Moopy, and then I hear Kandyman complaining because Justin's trying to help him, but I guess he started shooting him for some reason. I don't know. That was just weird.
Keeps helping him with bullets.
He's helping him with his mullet?
With bullets?
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, you cut out for a second. Alright, so Kandyman, you're there?
Yep.
Yep, okay, so are you guys ready to start?
Yeah!
3, 2, 1, the unabridged version of the Mutant Donkey podcast. So we got Kandyman, California, Ethansito, Texas, Andrewsito, Texas, and myself, Texas. So, did I mention we're going to the Comic Palooza tomorrow? We're gonna go to the comic book convention, and Ethan and Adriana, everything got canceled. Ethan was gonna graduate from HCC tomorrow, and because of the rain, they canceled everything. Adriana was supposed to be in a play, and they canceled that too. Like, all activities have been canceled this weekend, except for Comic Palooza. So we're gonna be there all day.
Where's that gonna be?
It's gonna be at the George R. Brown, which is downtown Houston, kind of across from Minute Maid Park. It used to be called the Enron Field or whatever, but now it's the Minute Maid Park, the baseball. So it's across the street from there. It's a big convention center, pretty cool. I don't think it's probably about a third the size of the one in San Diego, maybe, or maybe half. I don't know. The one in San Diego is huge. That thing is insanely big. So I guess let's start. We're just gonna open up the table, have a table discussion on what you've been watching. Who wants to go first, or what you've been watching, doing, playing, and whatever you want to talk about.
Jump.
Cricket.
21 Jump Street.
Oh yeah, Ethan's been watching 21 Jump Street.
What?
Yeah.
Like the old school?
Yeah, the original one. Yeah,
Wow.
it's on Amazon. So we started watching. I showed him one episode, and I thought it was the first episode. For some reason, it started on season 3. Episode 1, and I forgot how good that show was. I really
That's when
liked
Johnny Depp was normal.
Yeah, that was before he, what's his face, got him into Edward Scissorhands or whatever.
Yep.
What's the name of that creepy ass monkey dude? From Batman and Scissorhands, and what else did he do? Sweeney Todd, right?
Yeah.
What's his name?
And Batman Returns and Batman and things with stuff.
Yeah, well, what's his name? I forgot his name.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, there you go. I've been trying to remember his name all day long. I don't know why I can't.
And the
Yeah,
classic
he's been in everything
Frankenweenie.
He did Weekend at Bernie's?
No, Frankenweenie.
Oh, Frankenweenie, okay. like Weekend at Bernie's was a little bit it wasn't as dark as it should have been, I guess. I don't know. That was good. So Ethan, how do you like 21 Jump Street?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
I like it when they jump.
Hold
I just think it's fun because they're undercover in high schools, and I go to a high school.
Yeah,
it's kind of relatable.
But would you want to go back to high school again once you graduated to deal with all the same ass wipes and,
Actually, if I was undercover, I would really enjoy going back to high school, and I could be one of the bad boys.
And get all the
Just do
girls
anything.
pregnant.
Oh,
Just
what you gonna do?
Whoa, no. Not that episode.
That episode.
The one where the two officers are like the McQuaid brothers, and they wear bandanas.
Oh yeah, that was a fun episode.
They go, yeah!
You know, they recently, well, somewhat recently, made two movies out of Jump Street with Jonah Hill and what's his face, the Full Monty dude. That's the only thing I can remember him from. I guess G.I. Joe, but then they killed him off. What's it? I can't remember names. What's the name of the actor? The guy that everybody goes crazy for.
Channing Tatum.
There you
Yes,
go.
there you go.
Shannon Tatum. Yeah, what was that movie? The movie I just said before, where he's like stripping and stuff like that.
Magic Mike.
Magic Mike and all the girls went to see that thing. They almost trampled me on the way out. But there's something to be said that once girls go see that movie, they'll hit anything. Like they were looking at me like I was a choice piece of meat or something after they came out of that thing. They were like ready to get down or something. I don't know. That movie does weird things to women. That's all I gotta say. Anyway.
How do we get that movie back in theaters?
I don't think you don't have to work that hard to get it back in theaters. Just announce it. They will come.
Difficult.
Yeah, they will get there. Not come. Okay. So.
Gross. Oh.
So Kandyman, what? Yeah. By the way, we're ramping up the show now. The podcast is going to be a little bit more real than what it was in the first 4 episodes. So feel free to
real.
expand and.
You don't think we'll get pulled?
Pulled from what? There's like 2.5 people that listen to this shit. You know.
You might lose the 0.5.
Yeah, you lose the 0.5. So, okay, Kandyman, what have you been watching anything, or have you had time to watch anything?
Yeah, so I started watching. I talked about. I don't know if it was on the podcast. I was talking about it to you guys or Andres. I think it's what is it? It's like Love, Death, and Robots. It's that. Netflix one.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's kind of eclectic. You know, they're very short episodes. It's like 10 to 15 minutes.
It could be quite sexy too.
And they're pretty widely varied, but especially the very first one was just exceptionally good.
Yeah.
It was. There was a twist, and I didn't expect the twist.
I didn't either. Yeah, it was really good. I keep like waiting for one that's as good as it, and it's like there've been a couple that are good, but nothing that was that good. The first one was just super strong.
Yeah, it was awesome. I still haven't finished watching all of them. It's almost like I'm afraid to watch all of them because I don't want to run out. So I just want to keep them there so that there's always a possibility of me watching more. Just like Anne complains that we never finished watching the IT Crowd because that show was so good to me that they didn't want to run up episodes. Even today, we haven't finished watching the last episodes of season 3. But I just heard that somebody may be rebooting that show. Is that right? Have you guys heard anything about that?
They did try to, just like with The Office, they tried to create it here in the States, but it didn't get past the pilot stage.
But I mean, like today or yesterday, I heard that they were trying to reboot it right now.
No,
or continue the seasons. I mean, what are those actors doing anyway right now? I mean, 2 of them went into the big picture, right?
I was going to say, Chris O'Dowd is making a lot of movies. He's doing a lot.
He's awesome. That guy cracks me up. It's really
and the woman, I can't remember her name, but she's in a ton of stuff also.
Oh, yeah? Yeah,
so they've all moved on. And then the boss is actually on What We Do in the Shadows now. He's one of the main vampires.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you told me about that show. That show, I still haven't seen it. We need to get together and watch that stuff. So, cool. So, Andrewsito, have you been watching anything?
Yeah. Hey, that was a good segue. What We Do in the Shadows. I've been watching that show.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Any fan of the movie, or if you haven't seen the movie, highly recommend it. Any fan of like any of the mockumentary kind of style movies, that's the style of the show also. The show follows a bunch of vampires in Staten Island, which is pretty funny. They're real dumb. So I've been watching that. I've been watching all my typical CW type stuff.
Yeah.
I finished Gotham. Finished that series.
Was it good? I stopped watching it a while back.
The series is great. The series is really, really good. It kind of the end. I mean, they had to end it some way. They do a lot of fast forwarding and sort of set up Batman and the whole. They basically went to the end of the road.
Mm-hmm.
They skipped all the way to basically present day comic type stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it was good. The end, the last episode, I think, was a little bit disappointing, but overall, it was good.
So the show's over for good?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to catch up on it. I think it's on Netflix, right? Like the back episodes are on Netflix?
Yeah, the finale was, to be honest, I watched it on DVR. I'm not even sure when it aired. But it's been over long enough that if it's not on Netflix now, it should be pretty soon.
Okay.
And it's a Fox show, so it's on Hulu also. If you have Hulu, it should be on there.
Okay. And then on non-spoilery terms, did you end up watching Endgame? Because Kandyman hasn't seen it, so I don't want to spoil. But in generally, did you like the movie? I know Ethan went to watch it twice.
Generally, no. I did not like the movie.
No.
No.
I thought it was okay. I like the other one better.
It's my least favorite of all the Avengers movies.
Really?
Yeah. Don't watch the new trailer of Spider-Man Far From Home until you see Endgame, because it's really spoilery.
Oh yeah, Tom Holland is at the beginning saying there's gonna be spoilers.
Yeah, and I did watch it, and to be honest, some of the things that they drop in that trailer fix some of my problems with Endgame. The end game for the brothers that wrote the movie was to make lots more movies and lots more shows based on the things that I hated about the movie.
Oh, okay.
So there was method in their madness rather than what I thought was just being lazy and horrible writers.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
So I enjoyed the movie. It was a long movie, but it didn't feel that long. I can tell you right now that Civil War felt a lot longer to me than this movie did. And actually, I thought, although the pacing was a little bit slow in the first half, I thought that overall the movie was okay. Although it didn't really have any major twists, like the things that I thought were gonna happen happened, and that was pretty much it. So.
No, I mean, if you want it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. You go in, you see the people you want to see again, which is great. You get some more time with them.
Yeah.
So if you want some good character moments and you kind of miss your friends from the Avengers, you'll see them.
Yeah.
And things will happen.
Yeah.
But if you want plot, this is not the movie for plot. It's
really
terrible.
No, but they just have to wrap everything up. But I don't know. So what happens next? I mean, I guess it's Captain Marvel really gonna take over, or what's the plan?
So we won't talk about what happens next because it's you can't do that without getting into spoilery territory.
We'll talk about what happened next on the next podcast then. So let's table Avengers for now.
Yeah, but I also saw Chu and I saw The Long Shot.
You saw what too?
Detective Pikachu.
Oh, you saw Pikachu. Was that good?
Pikachu.
I'm gonna see it next week.
It was. I'll give it a hearty meh.
Hearty meh.
Yeah.
What, Ryan Reynolds was not enough to get a little rise out of you?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan, and Deadpool is untouchable. That movie's great. But I will tell you that Detective Pikachu showed me there can be too much Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think there can be. In certain situations, too much Ryan Reynolds.
Did he dress up like Green Lantern?
No. No.
I'd actually prefer to see a Deadpool Pikachu.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Pikachu.
But it's good. I wish I had more connection to Pokemon than I do. But Abby loved it. My daughter loved it.
Yeah.
So I would say for the younger crowd, it's fantastic. My wife tried to sleep a lot and just couldn't.
Oh, really?
And for the most part, I thought it was cool. I think Justice Smith, the dude in the movie, is awesome. That dude is awesome because I don't know how you can act that well in a whole movie where you're basically acting against absolutely nothing because it's all CG. I think he did an awesome job. He was awesome in the movie. The girl, not so much. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Ethan says when he goes to see it.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
But The Long Shot was better. That was a better movie, but by far a different crowd.
What was The Long Shot?
That's the one where Seth Rogen hooks up with Charlize Theron.
Oh yeah, where she's like president's advisor or something like that.
She's Secretary of State. She wants to be president.
Okay.
Crack it down.
Yeah.
That movie looks funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Looks awesome. Let's see. So I was going to say, did you see Shazam?
Shazam! No, I didn't.
Okay, well, we saw it, and I thought it was fun, but not as fun as I wanted it to be, if that makes sense. So it was fun, but it was everything I expected. You know how sometimes you're like, this movie's going to be great, and the movie's just good, but not great. It doesn't go that step above that. So basically, it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. I actually liked it better than Captain Marvel. Just because he actually has a personality. For some reason, they denied Captain Marvel a personality. I don't know why.
It's like you take Superman's powers, you put him into a plank, and you just toss it in the sky.
That's kind of the way it feels. Like there's no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's
Like,
no
you know Ed,
dialogue.
Ed and Eddie? They have like plank.
Yeah.
That's Brie Larson.
Wow. Okay.
Plank. So let's see what else. Endgame. We'll talk about that. We've been watching Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, and if you're very Christian, do not watch that show because that show was made by the founders of the Satanist cult in this country, man.
She's a witch.
That I know, but it's like they don't soften the blow. Everything is very in your face. So anyway, I guess that's all I'll say. I'm not going to spoil anything about Sabrina other than it's very dark. It wants to be like kid friendly, but it's also very dark in a way. So I don't think it can be both. And sometimes I don't know if it makes up its mind whether it wants to be like a teen kind of movie or like an adult hardcore, we're starting a cult here kind of thing. So because it is both of those things at different times. You know, it's very innocent and very dark and macabre on the other end. So, but it's good. I'm actually kind of hooked on that show. So, does anybody want to talk about what they've been playing?
I've been playing a crap ton of Days Gone.
Oh, you're already playing that?
That's the motorcycle game, right?
No.
Yep.
Is it? No, that's not a motorcycle game. It's a zombie game, isn't it?
Well, you're both in luck because it's both.
It's both. Great. So
I wish this game had more motorcycles. Well, it does, and I wish it had more zombies. Yes. Well, no, technically it doesn't. They're not zombies.
So
They're
what's up with everybody
freakers.
ragging on that game though? Like GameSpot was ragging on that game. Like
So-
even IGN, it was saying there's so many white people in that game. I mean, what?
Gosh darn it.
Go on.
Always with the white people. Wait
Like the zombies are light skinned, and then somebody had to explain to them. But when you go through the zombicide procedure and your skin loses all pigment, zombies look kind of white. But I guess people want zombies to be all kinds of races. Apparently,
Okay, well,
the
here's-
zombies were supposed to be green.
I guess I don't know.
They are kind of greenish. Like
Okay.
I don't. Maybe they're too. The shade is too light. Maybe.
Well,
I
the
don't
fact
know.
that we're talking about this is very.
They're also
stupid.
dirty, but they're also not zombies. They're
not?
no, they're not zombies.
I thought it was
They're
zombies.
people that have been affected by some sort of virus.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it's a lot like I Am Legend, but instead of terrible CG vampires, they become what's the word I'm looking for? They're wild. And the thing that the game does that I think is awesome. Like this is probably I'm surprised more people aren't complaining about this rather than pigmentation.
Mm-hmm.
Is there are children. And they are basically, you know how in any game, when you look at the enemies, there are classes of enemies.
Yeah.
One of the classes of enemy in this game is a child.
That would freak me out.
And it's messed up because they're small and they're a little faster and they're a little more
hard to
flexible.
hit. Yeah.
And no, it's not that. It's that these freakers are smart in this game. They're not like zombies. They are smart and they travel in herds.
Like 28
hordes.
days later or something?
Yeah, they have that rage thing like 28 days later. So there's a lot of that in there. That's probably the closest thing I would say. They're more like 28 days later than actual zombies.
Mm-hmm.
But the newts is what they're called. The children.
They turn them into newts?
They're called newts. Yes,
They got better.
Yeah. They get on the rooftops, or like if you go by a gas station, they'll be on like the awning, and they'll stay on the top and wait for you. And if you're hurt or you're weak, they'll jump down on you and and try to eat you.
Oh, yeah.
But if not, they just stay up there, and you can hear them, and you can see them. It's freaky.
I really want to play that game. Is that available for purchase on digital store too, like direct digital purchase?
I only buy digital now.
Oh, really?
I don't buy any discs. Yeah, I've been that way for this whole generation.
Because I'm gonna have to upgrade my PlayStation.
Digital.
I've been playing A Thief's End. I just finished A Thief's End a couple of days ago.
Excellent.
Love those games. The problem is that my PlayStation is like the original PlayStation, I guess.
Yeah, so you're not getting the 4K and
No, it's not about the 4K. It's that it sounds like
times.
a freaking vacuum cleaner, man.
Oh, the fan. Yeah.
No, the load times are actually fine. I don't have a complaint about anything except for like I have to pump up the volume because my PlayStation sounds like a vacuum cleaner. Like, it sounds like the Spirit Airlines plane that we got to go to California on.
I don't want to steer too far past Days Gone, but did you stay for the post-credit stuff in Thief's End?
I watched through the whole credits. I didn't I? Yes, I always watch through the credits on games.
And then afterwards, there was more. You were somewhere else, and you were playing as someone else.
You're talking about the epilogue.
Yeah.
Yes, I played through the epilogue.
Okay. Don't want to get spoilery, but I just want to make sure you saw it and played through it.
Yes, so I imagine that there may be a different character than in the future Uncharted games, or maybe he's going to partner with a different... I hope they keep making them. I love that series. To me, that series is better than Tomb Raider, even though I also play the Tomb Raider games. Yeah. I think their story is better.
Yeah, 100%. There's a bunch of different ways they can go. There's a lot of rumors about whether they're going to continue with his brother... or continue with possible offspring, or whatever else they're gonna do.
I want them to keep going.
Drake's story's done. They're not gonna do any more Drake, no matter what. But there are other opportunities to explore that world, and to bring it back full circle, they're saying the same thing about Days Gone. So Sony's put a lot of money into the franchise already. They want this to be a franchise. So even though people are honking about the best way I can describe Days Gone is I was really disappointed when I first started playing it, and that was before I read any of the reviews or anything, because I was there day one. I've really been looking forward to this game, and I was really disappointed at first. But the more I play it, the more I really like the world. I really like the interactions with the actual people. It's in a lot of games where you have base building and community investments and those kind of things.
Yeah, kind of like Metal Gear 5 or whatever.
It's much smaller scale than those games tend to be, but that's where all the writing is. So those interactions you have with people, and you start caring about some of them, and I just think all of that brought me into the world. And if you could think of any of the open world games, like a prime example would be GTA. If any of you guys played any of the GTA games, you can get sidetracked incredibly easy, and it gets to the point sometimes where you lose sight of the story because you're doing all these little side things here and there. That's basically what this game is, and that's why a lot of people are complaining. This game is primarily all of those side things. You're just doing side thing after side thing after side thing. But there is story in there if you give yourself up to the world is basically the story, and then there is an underlying story. There is a few underlying stories. There are some through lines, and there's a lot of things there. I've put tens of hours into this game already. I can't even tell you how many hours I've put in, but I know I'm way beyond 30 hours into the game already.
Wow.
And the crazy thing to me is I've still, like, every now and then will run into an enemy I didn't see before. I've never seen this kind of thing. Like, there's a new class that I'm just seeing, or I've gotten an ability to create a different kind of weapon, or, you know, these things are really cool to me. It's almost like if you put all those side missions together with the grinding that you get in something like Monster Hunter. You're basically grinding to upgrade your bike, to upgrade your weapons, that kind of thing. But you get that through raising your interactions with these camps that are set up. So you have to go out and do jobs for the camps, and that's where the grind is.
Okay.
I think the thing that is helping me more than those people out there that are saying this game is crap and they're pissed off about it, is I don't have a lot of time to play. So I can see if you sat there and played for 10 hours and didn't accomplish much, you could be kind of pissed off. But if I can get in and play for a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and I'm finishing missions that way, I can finish a mission in like 5 minutes, and then just go back in and doing more and more whenever I have a chance. I mean, to me, it's hitting every button for me. I really like the game. It's really great.
Yeah, I definitely want to play it, but you would recommend it then on the next generation PlayStation? Not next generation, but the upgraded, the Pro, basically, the PlayStation Pro.
No, not necessarily. The only thing that I would be somewhat concerned. I mean, so the original PlayStation I had a launch PS4, and I switched out the hard drives. One of the first things I did.
Yeah.
And I put it in a hybrid drive, so it did decrease my load times. And to be honest, I think that's where you're going to see the biggest difference. The 4K is great. Don't get me wrong; it's awesome. The game is beautiful, and you'll probably have a lot less of the glitchy pop-ins and things like that if you're on a beefier station like one of the newer PS4s. But to be honest, that's not really what the game's about anyway. The other thing is it's a really stealthy game. There are giant hordes. When you fight your first set of like 20 or 30 freakers coming at you at once is pretty intense. But when you see a group of hundreds, like literally hundreds of them, it messes you up. It's crazy, and the game is incredibly slow to build to that. And I think that's where another one of the complaints are. But I've gotten really inept at sneaking around and killing dozens of these things.
Okay.
But when you see them in a group, like a river, literally like a river moving, that's death. That's death on foot, and there's no way around it. And I know there's some things that I'll be able to craft and some upgrades that I'll be able to get down the road that'll make it all easier. But that's the end game. The end game for Days Gone is to tackle those hordes.
Does the performance hold up when there's hundreds?
Yeah, literally, yeah. And the funny thing is, you can use those to your advantage too. So, and there's wildlife in the game too, and there is both regular and turned wildlife in the game.
Oh.
Which it was dozens of hours in the game too before I found my first. There are wolves, and I've been killing wolves and getting meat, and you can
That's funny.
sell the meat for money. But the first time I was pulled off my bike by a freaker wolf was nuts. and there are bears in the game. I haven't seen a freaker bear yet, but I'm sure they're there somewhere. The performance is unreal, because there was one time I was sneaking up on a group of bandits, and usually that's the name of the game. You use foliage to your advantage, or rocks or buildings or anything to try to sneak up behind people and basically shank them. But you can go in guns blazing, and I mean, ammo's kind of sparse, but not to the point where you have a problem getting it back. It's just in a firefight, it becomes intense. The best thing to do is sneak up, be stealthy through this whole game. But I was coming up on a group of bandits, and one of those hordes was close by. I could hear it. So I threw what they call I think they call it an attractor. I can't remember. There's something you can throw that basically is like a radio.
Okay.
And so and usually that's what I do when there's a big group. I'll throw one of those things, and then as soon as they come all around, I'll either throw a grenade or a bunch of Molotovs and take them all out while they're congregating. But what I did for this group was basically just threw that radio in the middle of all these bandits, and then I just ran like 50 feet away and just hid in the bushes and waited. And that whole river of freakers just moved through and plowed all of them down. Like, you could hear the gunshots go on for probably like 2 minutes. And after a while, there's like one guy, you just hear this random bang, bang, and then all of a sudden that was gone too. And then afterward, I waited a minute, and then I went in and just basically looted all the bodies. They were all dead.
That's brutal, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's the best tactic.
And that's the whole point. Yeah, glad when you think that stuff through and you can play the game like that, and it's true with the wildlife too. You can use the bears and the wolves to your advantage like that too. To me, all that stuff is really awesome.
Cool.
What happens if you crash the motorcycle?
You get scrap that you can get from vehicles that are dead on the road. There's been a long time of this. There's been years. So there's a lot of wrecked vehicles and abandoned buildings and all kinds of stuff all over the place. And you can get scrap, and you can use that scrap to repair your bike. Or you can just take your bike. Every one of the settlements, there's not a lot. Like right now, I'm deep in the game and I've only got 3. But they all have a mechanic. That mechanic will refuel you and repair your bike, and you can buy upgrades from those camps also.
Okay. That sounds awesome. I do want to play that game. I may actually get that game before too long. Well,
Yeah, and the video that Ethan is playing on the bottom of the screen, the last little smaller box, they showed a screamer in there, which is that thing. That screamer, I literally just saw that like a few days ago, and like I said, I'm tens of hours into this game, and that freaked me out. I'm like, what the hell? There's all of a sudden there's this new thing that's making all of them come at me.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome.
The Screamer in 7 Days to Die, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Cool. But you can very easily sneak up on it and shank it in the back. You just have to be careful. Once it sees you, it's curtains.
Okay, cool.
It's good stuff.
So tangentially, are we gonna get The Last of Us on this generation PlayStation, or is it gonna be on the next generation?
My opinion is going to be a dual release. I think it will come out on this generation. It will come out probably the end of this year. But I think that they're either going to... The next PlayStation is going to be backwards compatible, so you'll be able to play in that anyway. But I think there are going to be some upgrades to the point where they might release a different version on the PS5 when it comes out. But it looks like Ghost of Tsushima and that game, and probably the new Hideo Kojima game also, Death Stranding. Probably all three of those are going to be the curtain call for PS4. I don't think necessarily those are going to be pushed on.
Okay. And then I imagine the PS5 is going to have all kinds of backwards compatible stuff.
Yeah, it's fully backwards compatible.
5,
They've already announced it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And they're also putting ray tracing in and some of the newer PC upgrades that have gone into laptops and desktops. They're building that already into the PS5.
Okay. Is
so
Microsoft going to
forward thinking on it.
Is Microsoft keeping up, or what are they doing?
Yes, Microsoft is keeping up. They still are towing the line. This is getting into inside baseball, but they're still towing the line with the most powerful console on the market. They're still pushing that line, even though PS5 kind of stepped on their toes a little bit.
Yeah.
But they are sort of pushing even harder for what they tried to do last generation with. They just released a discless Xbox, and they're pushing more for that digital future, and they're locking down even more. They just bought another company recently, and I'm blanking. I didn't write it down, but they just bought another. Man, it's some. The surgery, not the 2-Point Hospital. Is that what it's called? Not surgery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. It was a big game on Steam. They just recently purchased that company, so. Microsoft is going all in on buying these indie developers now. That they're banking on that.
Well, they did buy Mojang or Minecraft people. So I mean that was definitely a strong move for them. I think a stronger move was what Ethan was telling me, that they don't interject too much with them. They let them do their thing, and let the people who know how to do it, and stay out of their way. But I guess keep collecting on the revenue, right?
Well, their new strategy goes even further along that same path, where now they're basically putting Xbox on everything. It's going to be available on any tablet or phone or anything at this point. So they're taking that same hands-off approach and actually opening up to different platforms. So Xbox Live will be available through an app on just about anything, which to me is kind of crippling their console sales. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's not really their strategy anymore. So I think them and PS5 are going to kind of... It'll be funny when those things come out just to see what kind of strategies they actually make.
Yeah, because Xbox has been losing this console, battle, so it may pay them to diversify into the PC. I just hope that they get a better app for the PC, a better store, and they open up their source so there can be modding. It's ridiculous to have games on the PC without allowing people to mod them. I think that's stupid. But,
well, and I think Microsoft's strategy in that respect is pretty poor also, just because how can Microsoft at this point come back into the PC marketplace when you have Epic and Steam battling it out? I mean, Microsoft is kind of...
Yeah, I don't know.
They've already lost the console war, and they ceded the PC war a long time ago, so it's interesting to see basically how the strategy is going to play out.
Yeah,
I think they can come back.
I think they're going to come back through tablets, to be honest. I think if you can play all of your Xbox games using a tablet and a Bluetooth controller, then you can play anywhere. Play any of your games anywhere. And
as
long as they can strengthen... Exactly. Well, and that's the whole thing is they actually are putting live on Switch. So they're partnering with Nintendo and actually putting live on Switch, and then
that's a smart move to partner with Nintendo.
They're branching that out so that you can actually get Xbox achievements on some of the Switch games, which is insane to me.
Wow.
So yeah, they know that they've lost the war, and now they're just trying to get as much money as they can using any ally they can get in bed with.
Yeah. And well, okay. Well, let's see, Ethansito and Kandyman. Have you guys been playing anything of note lately?
I got a notification about a game that was 100% off for a little bit. Yeah. And it's called Divide by Sheep.
What?
Yeah. And it was one of those games made by the Tiny Build developers, who are also the people who made the Hello Neighbor game, among other things. And it looks like it was designed to be an app game on like the phone, but it works for the PC.
Okay.
So basically, you have a bunch of sheep on platforms in the ocean, and you have to launch them onto a life raft. But the little islands that they're on only have room for a certain amount of sheep. So like if the island's full and then you start throwing more sheep, they're just gonna bounce off and drown in the water.
Oh. Okay.
So the idea of the game is that you have to get a certain amount of sheep onto the raft. Like specifically, you can't go over or under.
Is that sanitary?
Yeah. But then there's other stuff like wolves that eat the sheep and lasers that cut them in half.
Just random lasers.
Yeah, it gets exciting, and it's actually kind of difficult.
Because everything's better with lasers, right? Cool.
Yeah.
And anything else?
Well, I haven't started playing it yet, but I got the Stalker game, the first one.
Is that the Russian thing?
Yeah.
I've heard about it. It's kind of like a first-person shooter, where you're going through like an irradiated zone or something?
So it's kind of like the FCP sort of thing. So it's like a bunch of weird monsters that are living inside of a zone that's full of anomalies.
Yeah, kind of like Chernobyl.
Yeah. And it's in Russia, and basically there's like a lot of hidden treasures there. So you play as one of the people treasure hunting in the zone.
Okay.
And try not to get eaten by crazy guys.
That sounds kind of interesting. Sounds a little bit like Metro, I guess. In a way. Okay, maybe
Did you
Fallout.
ever play any of the Fear games?
I played one briefly, but I thought that the combination of Scary Girl with military tactics was, I don't know, it didn't quite do it for me, the genre of it. But,
Stalker always gave me the Fear vibe, but yeah, I'm curious to see what Ethan thinks. I think I've even got that in my collection, but I never got around to it.
Yeah. I don't know. No, I did play it for a little bit, but then I kind of got sidetracked with other games. Kandyman, do you want to talk about anything you're playing right now?
Yeah, so I picked up Risk of Rain 2. There was a little sale, it was like 20% off. I wish I had bought it when it first came out on Steam, because they did a buy one get one free. But it's a roguelike. It's kind of a, I guess it's kind of like a third-person shooter. You have like a little hero, and there's like different classes that you can get, and basically you run around and you shoot things. And it's kind of like an old school, like Nintendo game where you kind of run around and you get power-ups, and like it's all randomized though. So there's like little boxes that you get money for killing things, and those little boxes you pop open, and they have random power-ups in them. And so you run around the level and kill stuff and get power-ups, and then you have to find a portal. And when you find the portal, it spawns you open it and it spawns a boss. And then there's like a kind of a big boss fight, and then if you beat it, you get like another item, and then you can take the portal to the next level. And basically it's timed, and like every minute the difficulty goes up, so you're basically kind of rushing around, like trying to get get enough power-ups to be able to take out the boss, and then quickly move on to the next level. And it's pretty fun. I mean, it's only like it's a $20 game. I got it for 20% off, so it was like $16. But and as you do as you do achievements, basically it unlocks other classes. So like after you play it a few times, you'll have more classes to play. And there's just like kind of different styles. You start as like the soldier, and then you can get like a huntress, and then you get like you can be like a robot with a like kind of like this mech kind of robot with like a chain gun, and various heroes.
Yeah, it sounds kind of fun. I actually do have it on my wish list, now that you mention it. I was kind of looking at it. It looks really cool. It looks like it'd be kind of addicting too.
Yeah, it's a simple game. I mean, if you do really well, like the first time, it was funny, the best game I played was with a friend, and like the very first game was our best game, really. And like if you play really well, you can go for about an hour or so before you get overpowered, and then if you screw up, you can die pretty quick. But no, in general, it's just kind of a simple game. If you don't have too much time to burn, you can just kind of, like if you have an hour to burn, you can just kind of jump in and mess with it. It's a simple game, but it's not it's not like a super exciting game. It's also early access, so there's still a lot of stuff to come for it.
Okay, cool. Sounds awesome. Let me see what else. Does anybody want to talk about another game, or are we good to transition to the news segment?
I think we're good.
We're good? Okay. So before we go to the news segment, on the podcast I'm about to interview Duane Moore from DMDouble Games, so that's going to be in here. After his interview, it will be the news segment. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me, Duane.
No, thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, no problem. So how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you been doing?
Good. Got a great day today in Houston. You guys got this great weather over there in San Antonio?
I haven't actually did a lot of looking outside yet today.
Oh, really? Have you been working?
Slightly, yeah. Working on another game besides surviving the game, and so I've been working on that a little bit.
Okay, good. Well, I guess we can start then, right?
Yeah, I'm ready. Where you are?
So yeah, I have a list of questions. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what your history with gaming, basically. When did you get a passion for it, and what made you start making games?
I want to say I can't remember when I didn't have a passion for gaming. I say gaming, but I'm talking about since the first time I played any kind of game, like whether it have been cards or dominoes. I mean, like I literally used to play like spades with adults when I was in elementary school. Even though there was those adults that didn't like kids playing, I thought I was decently good at it personally.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes we think we're better at things than we actually are. But that kind of just transcended over time. Played card games, the older board games. And I've collected comic books most of my life, so sooner or later I found my way into a hobby store.
Yeah.
And I saw more advanced games. My mother also always loved garage sales, so I used to see like Avalon Hill games. So I picked up a few of them over the time. And I like strategy, and I'm an artist to some extent, so I like creating stuff.
Okay, good.
So the more in-depth games just fascinated me and just pulled me in, and the interest just kept growing over time. So from that I also came into like RPGs and stuff, and so did some judging and dungeon mastering of different RPGs, Marvel superheroes, Dungeons and Dragons. I think I played a game called Champions.
Okay. I'm not familiar with Champions per se. I don't think I've played it.
Okay. Yeah, it was an RPG system. It may not have been big. Mm-hmm. I went to the game stores or hobby stores at the time, and like we looked through. I was big into superheroes, so I like to look through different things. We tried different game systems. In the end, I think our favorite game systems back then, which was like
back then meaning what decade? Are you talking late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s?
I'm thinking like about 20 plus years ago. Not quite 30 years ago.
Okay, got you. So you're talking
but
maybe
about 20 to 30 years ago. So, our favorite game systems back then was Marvel Superheroes and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. What edition of Dungeons and Dragons were you playing?
I don't actually. I'm pretty sure it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, so the original. It wasn't second edition. It was the very first one, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah, Advanced after the basic Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So I'm not sure what edition that was actually considered. I really did like 2.5 though. I know I like 2.5.
The 2.5 meaning second, I guess somewhere between second edition and third edition.
Or I'm sorry, I said 2.5. Maybe it's called 3.5.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
3.5 is what later became Pathfinder, I think.
Yes, 3.5. Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah. I was actually happy with 3.0, and I was extremely happy with 3.5 after they, decided to update, fill in all the little errata or whatever, flesh it out a little bit more. I thought 3.5 was a solid system.
Yeah. I stopped during Advanced, and I came back during 3.5.
Okay, and tell me more about the Marvel superheroes. What draws you into that universe?
Well, I've always liked superheroes and comic books. I mean, before I was big into games, I was big into superheroes, but I've always liked the realism of the Marvel universe.
Okay, so you're more of a Marvel guy rather than DC, right?
Right. I mean, just DC characters I like.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ones who have more down-to-earth stories.
Okay, so like, for example, which ones? Like maybe like Punisher or Daredevil, something like that, or?
Oh well, no. I mean, DC-wise, I like the ones that have more down-to-earth stories.
DC. Okay.
Marvel-wise, I pretty much like almost all of them.
Oh, okay. You have any favorite ones?
My favorite characters, that would be Black Panther, Namor, Hawkeye. Yeah, I'm looking at my bookshelf and just looking at the ones I know I like.
Okay. How do you feel that they're treating Hawkeye nowadays on the screen? I mean, I know he didn't get was he even in the last Avengers movie? I don't think I saw him on it, right? Not the one that just came out, but the previous one.
Actually, I don't think he was when I think about it.
But I haven't. After this interview, I'm actually gonna go head over to see the Endgame. So I don't know if he's gonna be in it or not.
I saw him in the preview, so I know he's in.
Okay, cool. He is a cool character. I do like characters that are mortal and very fallible, but also they have such a technical high skill, I gravitate towards archers. Like I like Green Arrow, and obviously Hawkeye would be somebody that I like too. I actually love Jeremy Renner. I think he does a really good job. I kind of want like a standalone Hawkeye movie. I don't know. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. I would actually really like that. To be honest, that's kind of the same reason I'm a Hawkeye fan. I was originally a Robin Hood fan, so yes, I like Green Arrow also.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye was just automatic. But then the more I've read, seen his comic book character, he's just a really interesting character, and it's interesting to me because I have more of a laid back personality, and I was always quieter when I was younger. But I like volatile characters. And before he became the leader of the West Coast Avengers in the comic books, Hawkeye was really volatile. He used to be a bad guy, so he wasn't like he wasn't always the nicest character.
I was not aware of that because I don't know too much about Hawkeye, so I had no clue that he was not I guess a goody little two shoes. So he started as a double agent or something?
Well, comic book wise, originally, actually, more I think about it, I don't remember reading the story. I remember reading about the story. I'm almost positive, and I hadn't even thought about the fact, but I'm almost positive originally Black Widow convinced him to fight Iron Man in the comics. I could be wrong. But because Black Widow was originally a bad guy also.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure his introduction in the comics was him and Black Widow possibly facing Iron Man, but I thought about it being Iron Man.
Okay. So that series of conversations that they have in the first Avengers movie when they're talking about the past, they're talking about whenever they were up to no good, fighting good guys, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, I know there's a Black Widow movie coming up, and I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, more than kind of, I actually like the subject matter. So. Oh
yeah, I like the idea too. And I can see that if they do a Black Widow movie, that it pretty much makes sense that it would be Black Widow and Hawkeye.
Yeah, and they kind of do a Hawkeye and then one where they kind of meet and they start doing stuff together. I think that's cool. I think that kind of gray line of the hero not being like truly a hero, but just being a human being in the gray area, and then
Yeah.
their journey as they find what they're gonna become. I think that to me is enticing.
Right, yeah,
in storytelling.
I totally agree. I actually really like the TV show Smallville, and
Uh-huh.
my favorite character actually on it was Lex Luthor.
Oh yeah, yeah. The actor was really good too. That I forget the name of the actor, but he was really good.
Yeah, I liked. I liked the Superman character, okay, but like when you meet him,
Mm-hmm.
except for the fact that he's nerdy, he's already this perfect person to some extent.
Yeah, he's already superior
and
to those
good.
humans, right?
And he tries to never do anything wrong. I felt like he was doing things wrong, but he was trying to always do things perfect.
Yeah,
And he was doing a good job of it. Whereas Lex, when they introduce him, it feels like he's trying to do the right thing, but he's human, so he keeps doing the wrong thing, or people don't like what he chooses to do.
yeah. Or they criticize him, or they always assume that he's a bad guy, and he's not. He's trying. He actually has a good heart. And then at some point, I think he gives up and says, everybody's putting me in this box. I might as well be that person, I guess.
Right.
So-
Yeah. That was kind of how I felt he progressed myself.
Yeah. I think I did see every single episode of Smallville.
I've seen every single episode of Smallville a few times.
Okay, you're above and beyond the Call of Duty there. All right. Well, let's start steering the conversation back towards you. So you can give me your name and your company's name.
Oh, my name's Duane Moore, and my company is DMDouble Games.
And when did you found DMDouble Games?
I would say I founded DMDouble Games about a year ago.
Oh yeah, okay. And are the other games that you made, or do they fall under DMDouble Games, or were they just what you were trying to do kind of freelance before you made this company?
Well, so this is my first game. Surviving the Game is my first game. I have other projects I'm working on. But Surviving the Game is my first game.
Okay. And can you give us a little synopsis about what Surviving the Game? I mean, I played it, but I want to,
Right, no, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yes, so Surviving the Game is set on a game show in the not so distant future. Sorry. The game show was created by a company who used to have a contract with the government to build and train forms of super soldiers, cyborgs, enhanced people. They lost their contract. They got in trouble with the government, and before they went bankrupt, they took one last ditch effort to make a game show where people are enhanced and they fight through an obstacle course that used to be the training grounds for the agents.
Okay.
And as a player, you take on the role of one of these people that has decided to play through this training course, but the training course isn't friendly in any way, shape, or form.
I can attest to that.
And it's actually a lethal training course. So I mean, you could potentially survive, and if you're the winner, you get paid, or you could you could potentially survive and get paid, or potentially survive and win and get paid more, or you could potentially not survive at all.
Okay, but this is not a game show. This is essentially a military training course.
Yes, it's a military training course that they've made into a game show.
Oh, so it is a game show. It's just they made it. Okay. And so what happens to the person that wins the game? Do they get a contract or something?
They get notoriety. They get paid more than the people who don't win. But also the fact that you won the game show, you've also been enhanced now.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had a goal, like say mercenary or something else, you could potentially get a job with almost anyone in the world because now you have survived this ultimate game, challenge game course. You survived this ultimate challenge and prove that you have skills beyond the average person.
Okay. But what if you get killed during the game? Is that like real? Do those characters die, or do they just get rebooted, or how does that work?
No, they die.
Okay, so basically you either survive the game or you are no longer in the program. You're gone.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's kind of a gruesome gruesome thing, I guess. I'm not sure what word I can think of right now. It kind of, so like the game actually, before I made the game, I was attempting comics as like a lot of comic fans have. So the story behind it is more based on other stories I had, created for comic books that I haven't actually done.
Okay.
And so basically the company was it was a rather crooked company to begin with. So before they created the game show, they weren't like nice people. And that's the reason they lost their government contract.
Oh, I see.
What they were doing. But because they know things that, the government doesn't want people to know, government doesn't actually stop them from doing the game show. And unfortunately, the show is actually popular because sometimes people don't mind seeing things that shouldn't be shown.
Yeah, exactly.
So since the show is popular enough, it continues. But yeah, that's kind of the premise of it.
Okay, so the premise was born out of your desire to make a comic book, is that right?
Yeah, it was born from a comic book idea I had. Yes.
And were you both writer and illustrator, or do you write and somebody illustrates, or how does that work?
Oh well, that's the thing. It was literally just an idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I used to like draw drawn a lot of the characters myself. Just like the character, not actually like a comic book. I've started comics a few times.
Yeah.
But a comic book is a long process. Not that a game isn't. But creating a game is far more engaging to some extent than creating a comic book for me. Because I guess a game, you only have to technically create it once. A comic book, since originally I was doing it by myself, it would have been like I write it, I ink it, and I color it.
Yeah, that's a lot of process there.
And then I've got I need to write multiple stories, and writing the story, it takes more time than it takes more time to write a story than to read it. It's the reality of the thing. And so like I've actually started writing another story about one of my characters, and I don't know how far I'm into it, but like it was taking a while just to write the story about one of my characters. So then I would have had to go back and to draw it, ink it, and color it, and doing it by myself is not the optimal way to do it.
Yeah, it will take a long time. And are there some of the characters in this game, are they based directly on characters that you wrote?
Yes. So the only ones that are actually based on it are the alphas or the bosses that you fight at the later parts of the game. I'm not sure. I don't think y'all actually got that far before.
We did like
that
3
far.
tiers or something, I think. I don't know if anybody got to fight the 4th tier, but...
Yeah, I don't remember his name. The person who was winning, he got to the 4th tier, but that was where he died.
Was that Ethan, my son? Maybe?
Yeah. Ethan got to the 4th tier. He didn't voluntarily get to the 4th tier.
Did we run out of cards on the 3rd tier? Is that why he had to go to the 4th tier?
Yeah. He got the trap on the 3rd tier that pushed him to the 4th tier.
Okay.
It was good for him because he was about to blow y'all all up, but...
Yeah, no kidding. He got forced to the 4th tier. I remember now. That's how we survived. Okay. So can you talk a little bit about the mechanics of the game? How does it play? Because we haven't really talked about that specifically.
Okay, so I call it a survival deck builder. I got to some extent the idea from playing multiple deck builder games, and I realized that they all use very similar mechanics. And since they use similar mechanics, making a deck builder, it was kind of universal that people would understand how it works. It wasn't like I had to really sit down and find a particular system or the mechanics of the game because they were universal. So the way the game works is you start off building a deck. You buy a character. And there are 3 different character types. There's cyborgs, there's biogenes, and there's soldiers. Soldiers are normal people that use weapons and armor and items. Cyborgs use cybernetics. Biogenes are basically enhanced beings. They either were born with powers or were experimented on given powers. You choose your character type, and you start buying cards to enhance your deck of cards. It's a deck builder.
Yeah.
The cards you buy are either cybernetic cards that do special things, weapons that do damage. You buy stuff to basically protect you and do damage, or to heal you. That's what the cards in your deck do. The character you buy will give you your health and tell you how much health you have. So you need to pay attention to that and make sure it never gets too low. If it gets to 0, you're out. Aside from buying cards to build your deck, there's an area that's called the game. It's basically the obstacle course. You go through it. There are 5 stacks of cards. You move your character on the stacks of cards, and every time you move from one level to the other, you have to flip a card. If you stay still, you still have to flip a card. On your turn, you have to flip a card, and each card has an obstacle underneath it. The obstacle will have health and damage, usually. Yes, no, they always have health and damage. The obstacles, except for the traps, I'm sorry. They all have health and damage unless it's a trap. There are 3 traps in the game that just give you an effect that actually force you to move to another level, either forward or backwards.
Gotcha.
Everything else has health and damage. If your hand generates enough damage, then usually you don't take damage yourself. If you can't generate enough damage to overcome the obstacle, then it will deal its damage to you. That's basically the premise of it. Each level is harder than the level before it. You can move up and down levels. You don't. Once you get to a level, you don't have to stay unless at the beginning of your turn there's an obstacle revealed already. Because if your opponent doesn't defeat an obstacle, or if you fight an obstacle and you don't defeat it, it stays revealed, and no one can pass through that area until they defeat that obstacle.
Okay. And then how do you win the game?
Oh, so as you're defeating obstacles, the first level obstacles doesn't give you any victory points. But after the first level obstacles, every level after that will give you a certain amount of victory points that are also money that go to your deck. So they're victory points, but they also help you buy stuff as you go along. They also help you buy stuff as you go along. So every time you defeat something, you will get an extra card that's money and victory points. And at the end of the game, if everyone dies, then you all count up victory points to see who has the most. If you're the last person left alive, then you just win.
You automatically win. Okay.
And the 4th level, if you clear once the 4th level clears, the game ends.
Once the 4th level is clear, the game ends?
Yes.
But there's a 5th tier, right?
Yes, you're right. The fifth tier is actually the exit.
Oh, it is. Okay, I guess we never got there, so I never got to see what it was.
Yeah. So if you get to the 5th tier, you fight one thing. If you beat it, you leave. Now, if you don't beat it and it doesn't kill you, you're still there and it's still there, and you still have to keep fighting it. But once you beat anything on the 5th level, you automatically exit and you get 8 victory points.
Okay, so there could potentially, like you say, like everybody could survive the game, but then after that, there can only be one winner.
Right. And so yeah, if you exit the game, then you get to go ahead and count your victory points. You don't have to fight anything else. Usually by the time someone exits the game is almost over. So it's not like you're going to be sitting there forever waiting for everybody else to exit, because everybody else at that point should either be close to dying or exiting.
Yeah, because every time you finish a tier of cards, you're forced to go to the next tier. So everybody's kind of being ushered through. Like you have to move up. You don't have the luxury of staying put, basically.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You don't get to hang around. I mean, there's been players that try to hang around at the back as long as possible. And that's the other thing I like about the game is there's multiple strategies. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can push forward really fast, and if you're doing well, then you start amassing victory points, and it forces people to follow you.
And also cards, right? I mean, because the more monsters you defeat, the more money you get, right? And you get more cards. You get to buy more cards.
But there's also been people who've just hung and waited while everybody else went forward, and they built up their deck, or they tuned their deck to a point where it would work the way they wanted it to, and then they rush forward.
Oh, okay.
And that's worked also. And sometimes you hang back there, and someone else just gets too many victory points, you can't catch up.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Huh? It's actually a really fun game. I enjoyed playing it. I find it specifically attractive the way that you make your deck and the way that you choose between 3 classes, and then how you choose to build your deck is you can find cards that synergize both with your specific class, and after you have those cards, you can also there's also some cards in different classes that can also synergize with your character, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I tried to make it where all the classes work together. You definitely want to buy cards from your class mainly.
Mm-hmm. But I also found, like, for example, I was playing the cyborg, and I found that I was buying some stuff that worked for me, but I also wanted to do a little bit more damage. But I was also looking into buying some guns from like the soldier class or something, just to like complement what my other abilities were, to be able to deal more damage in a single hand, basically.
Right. Yeah, and that was the plan for the game, is that everybody was going to need to buy weapons. Mm-hmm. You don't have to buy a lot of weapons, and if you're not a soldier, you don't want to buy a lot of weapons. But you need to buy at least some weapons, because the weapons consistently do damage. The other cards in the different other types don't consistently do damage. To some extent, they do enough damage to get you by on like level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But after level 2, if you don't have weapons, or you haven't found one of the cards in your class that actually literally does damage, then you're probably gonna die.
Yep. I was seeing that I was getting towards the 4th tier, and I'm like, man, I don't have enough damage output here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something that you play several times, and then you start learning how to build a deck. It's a game that it's I think simple to learn, but then it takes a while to master, is what I'm trying to get at, in the sense that you start learning how to put the different combinations of cards. But there's also a certain random aspect of which cards are available at the beginning of the game, right? Are there some like that are face up randomly?
Yes. So the game has gone through some like design change, but the final version there are 3 cards that always once you get into the game and you're facing obstacles, there are 3 cards in each class that are always available for the most part. Mm-hmm. There are consistent cards, and then each class has a stack of better cards that are randomized.
Yeah.
So a stack is shuffled, and one of the cards is available on level 2. When you get to level 3, there'll be 2 cards available in each class. Level 4, there'll be 3 cards, and it stays at just 3 cards. And unlike the other cards that are originally available, the original 3 cards are available in stacks of 10. The cards that become available over time are just one-ofs.
Okay.
There may be more than one in that deck, but you only, like, once you buy it, no one else can buy it unless it comes back up.
Okay, so there's that other coming back to strategy. I saw that there was a strategy to like maybe counterpick somebody, like buying a card from somebody else's specialization, I guess, to try to block them from not getting that card. For example, like a grenade, and you don't want them to use it against you, but you also want to be able to use it, so you can counterpick the grenade and not have them pick it up, and then you get the weapon and they don't get the weapon.
Right. Yeah. That kind of works, but that's more of a limited option, simply because any card you buy is going to your deck. So if it doesn't help you, then it's just an extra card in your way.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's possible to do that.
Because
by the same token. By the same token, if it's a really good card, yes, you definitely want to buy it if it's somebody else's class, because it's going to help you.
Yeah. And then, the more cards you buy, the more cards you're going to have in your hand. So I guess you have to streamline your deck in a way that it functions correctly. I guess similarly, I don't know if you played Magic the same way that you build a deck in Magic.
Yes, I have played Magic.
Because a lot of people, if you look at some of the decks from the championship people, they repeat a lot of cards. And they're not necessarily super complex cards. They're like mostly commons, and they just put 4 of those in their deck, so that basically it creates a consistency within the deck where you're always drawing the same type of thing to synergize. Otherwise, if you put too many things in your deck, it's not going to synergize, and it'll take you forever for your strategy to work, right?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the basic principle. You want to get cards that are going to consistently help you in a certain way. For the most part, you want cards that are going to consistently give you damage. And if you get cards that synergize properly, like say the claws and bio strength. Mm-hmm. Claws in the game do 20 damage. Bio strength does 10 damage on its own, but it will add 20 damage to an unarmed combat card or a weapon card. Claws are a bio tech card that is also a weapon card.
Okay.
So you play bio strength first, and then you play claws. Claws can potentially do you 40 damage because it synergizes with bio strength.
Okay, so you have to, play the game, learn which cards kind of go together,
Yes.
and start formulating a strategy. There was also another, I think it was it the medkit? There was a card that lets you get rid of some cards in your deck so you can fine tune it a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's the best way to fine tune your deck. There's a first aid kit in the beginning of the game. There are 5 turns where you're just buying from a limited resource pair to fight stuff, and there's a first aid kit there. After you start actually fighting things, there's a med kit, and those are the only 2 cards originally or always available, or originally available.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 2 other cards. One, there's a biotech card called Regeneration that also does that. Either you can heal 40 health or you can destroy 2 cards in your deck or in your hand or discard pile. And Cyborgs have a cybernetic card called System Repair that lets you heal 10 damage or destroy a card in your hand or discard pile, and then you repeat that process 2 more times. So you can, in some kind of combination, heal up to 30 damage or destroy up to 3 cards in your hand or discard pile.
Okay, so you can eventually just tailor your deck the way you want it.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't want to buy too many cards that aren't going to be useful to you. But by the same token, when you get a card that destroys cards, you want to get rid of the cards that are no longer useful to you.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you have three different classes. I played the Cyborg. I know how the Soldier operates. They got a lot of weapons, right? Cyborg has like some enhancements that you can use with your basic attacks. And then the Biogene is one that I didn't get to play with so much, but can you explain a little bit more about the Biogene? It seems like an interesting character class. I didn't fully understand it because I didn't get to play with it.
Right. No, I totally understand. So the Biogene, for the most part, the Biogene and the Cyborg, card-wise, are extremely similar. Both classes have cards that enhance other things. They either draw you cards, heal you, make something else you have do more damage, and each class also has something that has a high damage output. It has like 1 or 2 cards in their pile that have a high damage output. But the real difference between the classes, to some extent, or real difference between Cyborgs and Biogenes, are actually under the character card when you choose your character class. Each character class has effects when you play cards of their color. So the Cyborg, every time you play a cybernetic card, it will give you plus 10 damage.
Yes, I remember that.
And when you play the third one, it's plus 10 damage and draw a card. Now, in the game, after you play the third one on a turn, no more of the cards giving you any bonus effects. They just do what the card says.
Yeah.
Well, so the Biogene is draw based. So the first biotech card a Biogene plays does a plus 10 damage, but the second one draws them a card.
Okay.
And the third one does plus 10 damage and draws them a card.
Okay,
so yeah, they're they have draw power.
So they can snowball pretty much. If you get a bunch of cards in a row, you can just keep playing cards, kind of.
Yeah, they can synergize better than any other deck simply because it's easier for them to get the cards they need to synergize with.
Gotcha. But then they don't have the firepower that the Soldier has, for example, right? Like all those weapons.
Right. Yeah, and that's the Cyborg has staying power. The Biogene has access to its cards, and the Soldier has firepower. Like I guess it's just important to say that these characters all have different health. The Cyborg starts at 90 health, but it's semi-slower. The Biogene and the Soldier have the same speed, but the Biogene starts with 80 health. The Soldier only starts with 70 health, and at 10 may not seem that big, but in the game you'll realize once you start playing that your health is really important, and there is a card in one of the higher levels, that if a soldier has no guard and doesn't have enough firepower in their hand, that can auto kill a soldier at full health.
Oh wow. That's scary.
Yeah. But I mean, usually the soldier will have the cards in his. A soldier should have the firepower. The only unfortunate reason a soldier wouldn't have the firepower usually is the soldier's doing really good and you draw a handful of money or a handful of victory points.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the reality in all deck builders. Sometimes you draw a handful, or most deck builders, you draw a handful of victory points and there's nothing you can do with the victory points you just drew.
Yep, or the money, or stuff like that. You have to get a good combination of things. I mean, you have to keep money in your deck, but you also have to keep offensive weapons and defensive weapons. So it's kind of like a balancing act. And I imagine that every time you play the game, your deck ends up being completely different. Every single time is what I would expect.
Yes, and that was one of the things I liked about the game. Because another thing that makes your deck be different is a lot of times when people play games. The game gets kind of monotonous because you decide you like a character type and you pick that character type every time you play, and you try to build it to a certain style every time you play, and you kind of get into a system. Well, in surviving the game, there's always one less character of each character type than there are players. So when you're picking your player characters, someone is not going to have access to all the options.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if there's only 2 players, okay, let me say, if there's only 3 players, all of them can't be the same class.
Oh, that's an actual rule?
No, huh?
That's an actual rule. People can't be the same class. Like, 3 players can't be soldiers or whatever.
It's a setup rule. So when you set up, so when you set up the game, if there's only 2 players, you put out 1 card of each character class. In a 3-player game, there's 2 cards of each character class. So literally, if 2 people choose 1 class, the third person just can't choose it because it's not there as an option.
Yeah, it forces people out of their comfort zone.
Yes, very possibly. And that's actually probably the best way in the game that you can force your opponent to do something. What I mean is, like, if you've played with somebody a few times and you like this, good at this, you might want to buy that class before they get it.
Yeah, like as a counter pick right away.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And all right, what version is the game on right now, or what is this the final version, the one that I played, or are you guys still working on it, or what's the status right now?
Yes, that except for art wise, I mean, you saw most of the real art. There's a few arts that I need to change. I've gotten the commissions in from the artist, and I have my artist working on, I think it's like 3 or 5 more pieces of art, but the version of the game is in its final version. Okay,
and then when is the Kickstarter happening?
I'm gonna kickstart it again this time. I say again. I changed the name of the game and I made some slight changes. But I'm gonna kickstart it at the beginning of the year during the week of PAX South.
Oh, okay. So are you gonna be at PAX South?
February. Yes, I definitely plan on being at PAX South.
Okay, I may see you there. I'm trying to get some of my artwork together. I may actually get a booth for PAX South. I don't know yet. I'm still figuring my stuff out. But we went there last year, not this year, but last year, and we enjoyed it a lot. So we may be over there.
Yeah, I've been there the last couple of years, and I have enjoyed it. I'm expecting to be either at the Unpub booth, or I might get my own booth. I haven't decided yet. I want to get closer to the date.
Okay. There's a train coming or something.
Yes. I live really close to the train track.
Oh, wow.
I see my microphone works well.
Yeah. By the way, my friend Duane number 2 just texted me and he says hi. He's now Duane number 2 because I met you, so you're Duane number 1. It drives me crazy when I call you Duane number 1, so... Because I now call him Duane number 2. He's coming over to go watch Infinity War, whatever, Endgame. And so I know I can get a rise out of him when I call him Duane 2. So it's pretty funny. So, where can people find you if they want to, find more about your company, like DMDouble Games and your game, and whatever other stuff you may be working on? I don't know if you're posting that anywhere, or where can they follow you?
So I am on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at DMDouble Games. I do have a website that is still, I want to say, in its infancy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's set up. but I'm still making changes and I'm still editing things. So it's kind of bland at the moment. It's got a lot of art, or not a lot of art, but it's got some images on it,
Okay.
and it's got some information on it, but it's not like a full blown website. So if someone went there, they shouldn't expect amazing things.
But they can at least get the information about the Kickstarter, right?
I actually haven't full. Actually, yes, it's actually on the main page. I need to adjust it and put it to where I need it because I'm actually setting up the website myself, so
Okay.
I don't have like doing it for me.
Okay, so that would be like dmdoublegames.com.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I actually have my. It literally is at dmdoublegames.com.
Okay, cool. And then what do you have? Do you want to talk about either future expansions for this game that you have swimming around your brain, or do you want to talk about also either or talk about the other ideas that you have for other games that you're working on?
All right. Well, so expansion-wise, the first game, of course, is more of a military set, like military futuristic military type game.
Mm-hmm.
First expansion I'm going to do is a martial arts expansion.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that
It's
based on like
not-
Bruce Lee and all that, or?
Well, it's the expansion is called. I'm sorry. So when you read the whole thing, it's called "Surviving the Game: Death, Honor, and Glory."
Okay, gotcha.
Basically, it's you actually. So what it does, the expansion, it'll add some cards to the main game that are martial arts themed, and it'll also add a new class that is tentatively being called the martial artist. At the moment, because I'm still working on the mechanics for that,
Mm-hmm.
I think I've decided that what I'm going to do is that. So I don't think I really went over the beginning of surviving the game. So at the very beginning of the game, there are 5 turns where you buy your character class and some very generic items in any class you want.
Yeah, just to be able to survive, right?
Yeah. And after those first 5 turns, these items all go away. Well, for the martial artist, if you choose martial artist, there will also be, right now, there will be 3 martial arts styles you also get to choose at that point in time. So you also choose one of those 3 martial arts styles.
Oh, you're talking like Mantis or the rooster stands on one leg, or whatever those styles are, the snake style and all that.
Well, actually, I say styles. I would call it a style still, but it's actually the choice would be pretty much karate, kung fu, or ninjutsu.
Oh, more like types of martial arts as opposed to
Types,
everything centered on kung fu.
Right. And like karate is more of offensive. So when you play certain things that have to do with karate, if you play one of the martial arts cards, basically, or unarmed combat. Unarmed combat is a card that comes in your starter deck. It would give you an offensive effect.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Fu would give you either kung fu cards that the kung fu type uses are offensive and defensive. The ninjutsu is mostly defensive. It'll probably be like defensive and draw.
Okay.
So the effects you would get either be defensive or draw, or martial arts would be offensive or defensive, and karate would just be straightforward offensive effects.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. That seems to add a lot of depth to just that one character class. That's huge.
Yeah. I've pretty much figured out all of the cards. I just got to figure out what they actually will do. I haven't figured out the added obstacles yet. To some extent, I have, but I've got like basically name ideas for almost everything. But I've got to actually flesh them out into like what effects they will cause, obstacle-wise, weapon-wise. But yes.
Okay, because the way your game is set up, it's already kind of set up for like a traditional martial arts movie setup, where you go through the 7 levels of a temple to try to get to the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, because you're ascending, you keep ascending and keep defeating harder and harder enemies, and if you survive, you get to face the last dude and kick his butt.
Right. Yeah.
The big
Yeah,
showdown, basically.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that will be. The only thing is, it's a mixture. It's an expansion. It's not like you're rebuying the whole game. So of course it'll be cheaper than the original game.
Mm-hmm.
But cards just insert into the original deck. So it'll add some flavor to it, but it's not going to change it.
Okay, yeah. It'll add the flavor of that character class, and yeah, I understand because the original attacks for all the classes are those like hand-to-hand attacks, like the kick or the punch or whatever, and I noticed that the art was kung fu like, or it was kind of martial arts style, the art on those cards. So that I think that plays right into what you're talking about, the expansion.
Yeah. And my next expansion I'm planning on doing after that is going to be magic based. I haven't got a name decided totally yet. Originally, it was going to be surviving the game of Dark Magicians. I've recently came up with an idea that sounds a lot better to me, called Surviving the Gathering.
Oh, cool.
And basically, I've got to figure out how. I probably have to get somebody to do the logo for me, because it would be a similar logo to what I have for Surviving the Game. But basically, it would have the part where the game is either scratched out or basically gathering emblazoned over it, where it normally would say game.
Yeah. And yeah, you have to identify it as being part of the same game, basically.
Yes.
So it has the same language overall, but you can tell something has happened, like the thing has morphed and you've gone on to a different dimension of game, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is the magic. That actually is pretty enticing as well. I like the magic stuff. So is it like wizards, or is it going to be like elements, kind of like the airbender stuff, or just pure raw magic?
It's going to be... this one is far more tentative when it comes to how it's going to work. I'm playing with using something similar to the martial arts, but having 3 different magic styles of magic.
Okay, cool.
Light magic, dark magic, and elemental magic, or just basic magic.
Yeah.
So based on which form of magic you choose to use, it would modify the effects of the spells you use.
Yep, that's interesting, because I was
they wouldn't actually do the same thing. They would do something based on the style of magic you choose.
Okay, that's really cool. Because I've been working on a game too, and it has some similar styles of like deck building, plus also the light and the dark magic, and how certain characters can only use light and certain characters can only use dark, but there's certain characters that can combine both of them to get added effects. So that's you hit something that I kind of like. It's pretty cool. And so it basically, you have 2 expansions that you're thinking about, and then on top of that you have other games that you're thinking of doing, right?
Right, yes. And actually, I've just started collaborating with another company. I actually remember the actual name of the company. They put out a game called Friday Night Legends.
Why does that sound familiar?
Oh, because it's kind of a play on Friday Night Lights.
Okay. Yeah, I did see the show. I saw the movie. I saw both. Yeah.
And the original game is basically you're playing high school football, and it's made for a board game. It plays like you're playing football. The draw for that game for them is the fact that you can literally get them to make you a stat card for your team of any high school that they can get stats on. They definitely have access to all the stats of every team in Texas, but I believe they can actually get them from anywhere in the United States. So they'll charge you, but they'll make you a stat sheet for any team you want, so that your team plays very similar to that high school team should have played. I'm not talking about like this year or last year. I'm talking about any year they can get stats for.
Oh man,
so that's the way that game that they've already made is played. Collaborate, doing a game that's tentatively called Signing Day. So it's basically you're a college head coach and you're signing high school players.
Okay. So
it's right now it's basically kind of a worker placement game where you send out your head coach or your coordinator to different high school students that will be represented by cards on the table to convince them to come to your school.
Okay, cool.
And see, that's the thing. What I think people like about the game is if you like football, you'll understand some of the nuances and you will feel the nuances of the game, football. But if you don't and you like worker placement, you'll still feel like it has to do with football, but you'll enjoy the game itself.
Yeah, and I do like worker placement, like Dungeon Lords and is it Bronze Age? That's one of my favorite worker placement games.
Okay, yeah, I actually haven't played that one, but when I was working on my version, it made me. I was thinking of kind of like Agricola.
Agricola, okay, yeah, I've never played Agricola, but I've heard really good things about it.
It's one of those things about Agricola. When you play it, you're a farmer. I know nothing about farming.
Yeah, and I don't think I ever want to be a farmer in my life, but
but for some reason, I enjoy Agricola.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the feeling I wanted to get. A game where you feel like there's a football experience without having to like football. But you're playing a game that you enjoy.
Yeah.
That was my... It feels like football without you having to like football. But also why you can enjoy yourself, whether you like football.
Yeah, it's like playing the game Power Grid without having to be an electrician, or maybe playing Pandemic without having to be a infection. What do you call that? One of those doctors that focus on infections.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, exactly. That's the goal. The goal is to feel like you're there. It's kind of like most video games. We play video games. We know how to push the buttons. But a lot of times, like the stuff we're doing, we wouldn't know much about to some extent, except for the fact that the game lets my character understand it. So, lets my character be able to do this stuff, and I know which button to push to get him to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
so you understand the worker placement part, and you'll feel the nuance of football and signing players, but it's secondary to the actual enjoyment of the game.
Okay. Well, that sounds cool. Where can people find you, and what are your normal comic conventions that you go to during the year where people can meet you?
All right, so I consistently right now go to Bash and PAX South in San Antonio.
What was the first one?
Board Game Bash.
Where is that?
They have it at the end of every summer in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm consistently there. I've been there, I want to say, like the last 3 years, maybe 2.
Okay.
Probably the last 3 years, because I've been to PAX South the last 2 years.
Okay. And are you going to be in Comic Palooza coming up here in Houston?
Don't think so. What month is that in?
That's May. I think May 12 or something. That weekend, anyway. It's like 3 days or 4 days.
No, I'm not planning on being there. I was seriously considering making a BGG con in Dallas that I think is coming up next month. Also,
eventually, I want to have a booth at one of these places. I need to, get better and produce more art. And that's what I'm doing. I have my day job, and then I have my other, Mutant Donkey, which I just started like 2 months ago, or 2.5 months ago, and that's I'm trying to get better at my graphics. And in the architecture part, I can do easily. It's the other, incorporating the more freeform graphics is a little bit harder, but just trying to get there and doing that. And in the meantime, we have this podcast where I can just have a lot of people that I meet and become friends, and just maybe form a community of us gamers to stay in touch and support each other while we're trying to get our products or whatever we're doing to try to promote ourselves. So I figure if we form kind of like a web of friends, of super friends, so we can kind of, we can help each other. And not only that, if I'm ever in San Antonio, maybe I can shoot you an email. Maybe we can do some gaming at some point or whatever. I remember going to the Alamo over there on the west side of San Antonio, and there's like a gaming store attached to one of the Alamos over there, which was really cool. And I met some people there that were playing like Terraforming Mars or something. And so...
you said Terraforming Mars. I had to laugh because at our Thursday gaming, there's almost every week there's a Terraforming Mars table.
Oh, really? That game's awesome. I actually have not played any of the expansions. I'm just happy with the regular game, but I think that game's really well done.
Yes, it is.
It always keeps me coming back. What's that?
That's one of those things. I was going to say that's one of those things I've been trying to ask them. I like the game myself. I was asking her, so why do y'all like this game? I like the changing and the depth of the strategy. But I was just curious. One guy surprised me. He liked the idea. he like, I want to say maybe like not maybe like researched or just looked up on like maybe terraforming the planet. And he liked the idea of it before playing the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, just from watching that movie Mars or whatever with Matt Damon, I mean, just playing a game that kind of gives me that same feeling.
Right.
I'm kind of sold, and then on top of that, the game's actually good.
Yes.
So
yes.
so they already had me at Mars, but when I started playing, I'm like, oh, this game is actually really good. I mean, honestly, nowadays I don't buy games without knowing whether they're good or not. I always do my research. I look at Board Game Geek. I talk to people who've played them, because games are not, they're not super affordable. Some of them are, some of them are not. You're having games like Gloomhaven that range all the way from $200 if you buy it off season to like right now it's under $100, and so you're like, that's a lot of money to spend on a board game regardless. So you better do your homework, before you drop over $100 on a game.
I totally understand. That's why I'm trying to get the goal of my game. I'm trying to get it to around $30. I mean, store shelf cost.
To how much? The mic was kind
of
$40. $40?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, that's
Yeah, I figure that's like around a reasonable price. And looking at the manufacturing cost, I can't go much lower if I can even do 40.
Yeah. I mean,
I believe I can do 40.
Yeah. At some point, you're also doing this because you enjoy doing it, and then if you can make some money at it, then that's kind of the icing on the cake. But the fact that you're actually getting to share something with people, it's in a way its own reward, I imagine.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Just seeing the first time I saw my box after I got the artwork put on it and got it designed, it was like it was like an amazing feeling. Like, this is in my hand. I'm looking at this art, for this box, for this game I designed, and I got the cards after I designed them. That was a long process, but I did it, and I got the cards. And I saw the actual cards. The first cards. When I first designed the game, I made cards too, of course, to play with.
Yeah.
Play tested with, and those look cool, and those were amazing. But they were stickers stuck on Magic cards with pictures on them. They looked cool to me at the time, but then when I got the actual cards, I'm like, I mean, they're not the final version of the cards, but still, they were like, oh man, this is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The original game will come with dividers for everything, and any expansion will come with dividers for it. So that way, you don't have to like go buy another box or try to figure out how you carry this game around and keep it organized.
Okay, well, I'll definitely check it out. So you're saying beginning of next year, beginning of 2020, we need to be looking for a Kickstarter.
Yes, it should be either January or February. PAX South hasn't been the same month each year. That's the only reason I'm not sure, because I realized
I'll
best
there,
to do it. Huh?
I'll probably see you there at PAX South next year, this coming year.
Okay.
So, oops, that's the doorbell. Dwayne number 2 is here. Crap. I'm gonna have to, because we're supposed to be leaving for Endgame right now.
No problem at all.
I'm gonna have to cut it short. I'm sorry, Dwayne.
It's perfectly fine.
But no, it was a pleasure having you, and thanks for coming on the podcast. And
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. I'll send you a copy of the podcast when it comes out. We're recording the podcast next weekend, so it'll be sometime next week, probably late next week. I'll send you a copy of this podcast.
Okay, all right, no problem. Thanks.
All right, well, take care, man, and I hope you're successful with your games.
All right, good luck with the podcast also.
All right, thank you.
All right,
take care.
Bye.
Mutant Donkey
Podcast News. So, without further ado, let's start with the news. Does anybody want to pick a specific topic from what you've seen to talk about? Otherwise, I'm just going to go down the list. Is there...
Actually, I have something that wasn't on the list, but I think it's interesting. So, as some of us would agree, I think, Epic Games is kind of the devil with their console style kind of exclusive nonsense and stuff. But so the latest chapter in what they've done. So there's a program called Easy Anti-Cheat. Those of us that have played games like 7 Days to Die or Empyrean or various other games, a lot of games that are kind of multiplayer with servers, use this technology called Easy Anti-Cheat, and it's basically just like Punkbuster or any of those other, kind of play nice programs that kind of ban cheating and stuff. At least attempt to like ban aimbots and various cheating that people do. Well, Epic Games bought Easy Anti-Cheat.
They did.
And so basically now they control one of the most common anti-cheating softwares, and as part of their war on Steam, they're basically ending Linux support for gaming with easy anti-cheat. So, to some degree, I just don't get it, because they're definitely anti-Steam, and unfortunately, Steam is pro-Linux gaming, and Epic Gaming is not. And I just thought it just kind of blew my mind that they bought easy anti-cheat basically just to like stick another knife in Steam. I just can't, I can't quite get over it.
They're playing dirty. I think they're trying to get a rise out of Steam. But as that thing, I sent you guys a video when I got criticizing Epic on all this stuff and saying the best thing Steam can do right now is nothing. Just wait until it blows over and people realize that Epic's still not a good store. I mean, yes, it's a place to get games, but their store is like bare bones. So in the end, I guess those time exclusives will be open back in Steam, and unless they make it permanent exclusives. Have you heard of any permanent exclusives for Epic?
Oh.
Other than time exclusives? Because I don't.
I guess the closest thing to that would be Rocket League.
Well, they did buy Rocket League. So that's
so
another purchase.
They literally bought Rocket League to like take it off of Steam completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also, I think one of the other games you talked about was that World War Z game.
Yes.
That was another Epic exclusive. But I have a friend that played it, and he said it started off being kind of fun, but he got bored with it really quickly.
Yeah, I heard that it's not good enough to like consider buying. It's good enough for a couple hours of fun, but other than that, it's not really worth buying. Which I was kind of sad, because I really wanted to play a new zombie game, but I'm not buying it on Epic, and even if it was on Steam, I'm not sure I would buy it with the reviews.
There's Days Gone.
There's Days Gone, and there's also something else. I think at E3, Dying Light 2 is going to be announced.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be awesome. I really enjoyed the first Dying Light. I thought it was one of the best, like kind of.
I actually liked it too. I would have liked to found someone to play multiplayer with, because I'm not like a huge fan of the of parkour in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was a really fun game. I didn't play. I probably only played it for like 20 hours. I didn't get super into it. I didn't accomplish a lot of the things that I could have. I kind of burned out on some of the harder missions, but
it does help to have people to play with you. We played through that whole game.
And they still support it. There's still content for it, and there's still events, like in-game events and stuff like that. Like, they're still doing a pretty good job of keeping it alive. I was pretty impressed that it still goes on sale and it still has events and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
And it's one of the few games that made my heart beat a lot faster when it was nighttime. Like, those zombies are
that game is nightmare at night. It's definitely scary.
And we had someone. We played through the whole thing with a bunch of friends, with Andrew and Art and Justin, and we played it on the PS4. And man, those night times were awesome. Just like running around as fast as you could before you got killed. It was just really cool. I don't know. I think that game hit a really unique sweet spot. Also, that game is one of the games that made PewDiePie famous. PewDiePie was probably one of the first people to like play that game on his YouTube channel, and then he started getting a ton of views on that thing. So, let's see, anything else that's pertinent here? Talking about the guy from Epic and the guy from Gearbox are starting to have something similar. For example, Randy Pitchfork is now getting a lot of flack for having said that there will, I guess what he said was there are not going to be any loot boxes in Borderlands 3, but people construed that as there will not be any microtransactions. Now, he makes a distinction between a loot box and a microtransaction, and I guess there is a difference. And so people are saying that he said there were not going to be any microtransactions, and now they're crying foul because there are going to be skins that are going to be sold. Now, personally, the way I think about this is I don't like microtransactions at all, and that's why I don't like mobile games in general. But for the main reason that when I first played Dragon Age, the first Dragon Age, I really liked Dragon Age, by the way, and I played the whole way through. I think Andrew played all the way through it twice, probably, and or maybe more than twice. And the first time I was running around in the map, and I was all involved in the adventure because Dragon Age kind of pulls you into its story in a very unique way. And then I clicked on one adventure, and it was a microtransaction adventure. So when I clicked on it, it says, oh, if you want to follow this adventure, you have to pay. And it took me completely out of the game. I was so mad, I almost stopped playing the game altogether. I almost threw the game away. And it upsets me when people do that, when they put microtransactions in a game that you already paid for. I don't have a problem with DLC, like extra content that you can buy after the fact, or even during the fact, but it's separate from the game and you understand, okay, I want to buy this. But when you incorporate that into the game and then you're trying to milk people after people already bought your game, I don't know, I get upset about stuff like that. And a good example of a game that deals extremely well with microtransactions is Dota 2. Dota 2 is completely free to... Let me put it this way. If I'm paying for a game, I don't want microtransactions. If I don't pay for a game and it's played for free, then I'm okay with microtransactions because guess what? I'm playing the game for free. Now what Dota 2 does is you can play... As opposed to League of Legends, in Dota 2, all the heroes are unlocked from the beginning. You can play all the way through the game. You can play all your life and never pay a dime. But because you build consumer confidence and people start liking the game, people start buying the skins. And there's skins that go for like $2,000 and above. There's some that go for $100. There's some that go for 50 cents. There's some that go for 30. But it's all up to the people who are into the game, and they can decide whether they want a skin or not. It has no effect on gameplay other than graphics. And to me, that's the perfect world in which if you like a game enough, you will spend money in it. Similarly to Path of Exile, which is completely free to play. But then if you want to invest more money into it, you can get like additional chests and what is it? You can also get skins and like clothing and things like that. So I think that's the correct approach to microtransactions. I don't want a game like Borderlands 3, which I already paid for, to have microtransactions built into it. Now, that's my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys have anything to add or yay or nay on this topic, but
I do have, basically, as far as I'm concerned, Epic is the devil, but I do have another kind of, so there's been some articles floating around about an interesting game, Star Citizen.
Yeah.
So there's been some really interesting articles about it. But essentially and in full disclosure, I kickstarted when the first Kickstarter happened, which was probably around, and this is kind of a sign of how badly things have gone. It was probably around like 2013 when I originally kickstarted it, and I think I did like $100 or something because I was like, oh wow, this sounds like, and this was before really kind of even before Kickstarters had kind of started, but they weren't Kickstarters and early access weren't as incredibly popular as they are now. But I was like, oh, you know what? I'll take a flyer on it. It sounds like a really cool game. It sounds like a really cool idea. Well, what it's basically come down to is it's like 6 years later, and I'm not even kidding you. They've raised it's basically kind of the biggest vaporware in history. They've literally raised about $280 million.
Holy crap.
And they don't have a game.
I know, I kind of want to play it, and I don't know where the game is. I don't know how to access that game.
and hopefully and that's the thing. The sad part is because I kickstarted it, I'm still kind of like hoping that somehow they'll make the game so I get the game that I paid for. But basically what they wound up doing is they're selling spaceships for this game.
Great. And
spaceships can cost not just hundreds, but even thousands of dollars.
Oh man! And
so they're selling these, multi-hundred. There's people that have spent thousands of dollars on this game. And they're like asking for refunds and stuff. And of course, they're not getting them. But they have like a pretty big team, and they're spending like $36 million a year, on their team. But the problem is that like a lot of their money they're spending, is going back into fundraising because they're just vacuuming up money. To try to keep this thing going, but then they're not. Oh, and that was the other. So, like, the stories are just amazing. But basically, like, the game's supposed to have like 100 custom-made solar systems. It's supposed to have like 100 different star systems, and it's all handmade. Mm-hmm. They haven't finished the first one yet.
Oh man!
So it just lets you know like how. And there's kind of a big argument. There's people who are like, oh, because they have like modules. They kind of have like, they've built like some pieces of the game, like you can fly your ship but you can't. There's like not a game to play. You can like literally fly it around and say, "Wow, this $3,500 spaceship is really cool," but it like you can't actually go like into a universe and like play a game.
Yeah.
But so when you really think about that, I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't have a game. I mean, and it's not to mention it's like 6 years later. I mean, it's pretty mind blowing. There's some good articles about it if you look for it.
Yeah, once in a while there's an article on PC Gamer and I kind of read it, but every time it gets more ridiculous. It's like they bit off more than they can chew, and they know it. They just, I guess, they don't want to admit it to everybody. I don't know.
Well,
maybe
if
at
they
some.
admit it, they're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
But what I think they should do is basically publish something and be like, hey, this is a tool that you can use to make a solar system. So please make a ton of solar systems and send them to us.
Yeah, have the modding community take over. At some point, if that game gets dropped, I'm sure the modding community is going to get a hold of the source code and just go to town and actually finish that freaking game for free.
Well, and it's funny because that same thing is what happened. A lot of people love Skyrim. Mm-hmm. Well, Skyrim, a lot of people don't remember. Skyrim was really not a finished game, and arguably it wasn't. Like modders really did a lot of work to finish that game, but they're really smart to embrace the modding community because, quite frankly, the same thing with 7 Days to Die. People can make a crappy game with a good modding interface, and the modders, if there's people who like your game, they will finish your, they'll make your game for you, and you can sell your game and make money and use their mods to make it playable.
Yeah, because you own the IP, they don't own anything. The second they start playing in your playground, you own whatever they do. It's an interesting concept, right? So
yeah, in fact, like one of my favorite games, my old game, Star Control 2, the developers actually did, this was way back, this is a long time ago, this was like in the 90s, back when Usenet was a thing. Usenet was like user groups, like old school, and they're still around, but nobody uses them. But back in the day, like Usenet was like the Reddit of 1992. And people, so they would literally post on Usenet, and like they got people like a lot of the sound effects and stuff like that. Like people, this was like the OG modding concept. Like this was, people they basically got people that were fans of them and their work to like, do little chunks, do artwork, do like a piece of artwork or a sound effect or something, and they literally kind of crowdsourced the content for the game. And Star Control 2 is one of the best games you'll ever play in your life. It is and you can play it free, by the way. There's the company called Toys for Bob released the source code, and you can Google the Urquan Masters, and you can download and play the game for free. And I'm telling you, one of the best games you'll ever play.
That's Star Control.
Anyway. What's that?
Star Control.
Star Control 2. The first one's good too, but Star Control 2 is a it's in my opinion, it's like a masterwork. It's up there with like Planescape Torment and stuff like that. Dragon Age Origins. It's up there with like
Okay, because I see the original Star Control on Steam, but not the second one.
No, there's a new one. So they did a new one. They did like a Star. It's essentially Star Control. Well, they did a study. So they did Star Control 1 and 2, and this was done by these two guys who are just brilliant. And then they actually wound up making like their own company. They did Skylanders and some other games. They actually did quite well. But then there's a Star Control 3 that was done by some other company, and it was just okay.
Oh, okay.
And then Stardock bought the rights. It's actually fascinating if you're into this kind of thing. There was like a lawsuit. They bought the rights to supposedly they bought the rights to Star Control from a publisher, but not from the guys who created it. And so there's a legal fight right now over who really owns Star Control. But Stardock bought allegedly bought the rights to Star Control and made Star Control Origins, which is now kind of in a limbo on Steam whether it can be sold or not because they're fighting over the legality of it.
Stardock are the ones that did Galactic Civilization? Or is that a
yes, yes, exactly. And that Stardock, by the way, part of the reason it came into a big legal fight is because Stardock spent kind of their last money developing Star Control Origins. And then the Toys for Bob guys, and I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but they filed a cease and desist and got it pulled off of Steam, and it's actually kind of sad. I mean, Stardock is basically circling the drain. They're all but bankrupt.
It's too bad, man. I actually liked them.
But yeah, so that's kind of that little story. But yeah, Star Control 2, it's called the Urquan Masters, but yeah, it's free. And it's I'm telling you, it's really, the writing is fantastic. It's really, it's one of, back when the games were more art than science, it's like, it's really, really funny. It's really well done.
If you send me a link to that game, I'll put it on the podcast notes.
Yeah, it's actually got like a lot of it's one of those games, and I think that's what's missing in today's games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of today's games are procedurally generated and da-da-da-da-da. Like, back in the old days, like in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
like, games were handcrafted. Like, all of the levels and all of the stuff, like, everything that's on the map was put there by a person who put it there.
Yeah.
It's really handcrafted, and it's really lovely because of that. Games that have that level of care.
And that's what I noticed when I was playing at Thieves' End, the Uncharted games, and this is related, but also I meant to talk about this before. Sometimes I'm playing that game, the Uncharted games, and I stop playing it because I'm just looking at the environments. And like you're saying, is that level of handcrafted detail, especially from the point of view of architecture, because you're looking at all the buildings and the friezes and the columns and the gold leaf and everything. Everything is insanely well detailed from an architectural point of view. Not only
I think that's also why I personally prefer single-player narrative games, because
Mm-hmm.
of that level design. Level design is key.
Yeah.
When you're telling a story.
It's so immersive. And
that's the whole point.
And let me talk about something very specific about this. Was it the second Uncharted game, which they started in Cartagena in Colombia, where he's a little kid? They actually had Colombians speaking Spanish from the local area. It kills me, and I don't want to, this is not a racist statement or anything, but it kills me when they have Mexicans playing Colombians. Because if you're not aware of it, Latin Americans don't speak with the same accent in every country. You have different, you could almost call them dialects. And so when you have somebody with a Mexican accent trying to impersonate a Colombian, like in every single American movie about Colombia, you will have Mexican people playing Colombian. It drives me nuts. But Uncharted actually took the time to find Colombians to actually voice the parts that were in Colombia, and you wouldn't know that unless you were Colombian and you were privy to that specific, because I have been to Cartagena and I've been there and I know how people speak there, and they speak the same way. Like they did it better than a studio like Universal or MGM or whatever. They don't care. They just grab a Mexican and say these lines, you're Colombian now. No, they went, it's Naughty Dog, right? The company that made Uncharted. They took the care to find the correct accent for the correct area, because even within the country of Colombia, there's many different accents depending on which area you are, and they got the correct accent for the correct area, and that made me so happy. That right there made my day, and yeah, Viva Colombian. So and I
that same level of love and basically funding, it comes down to cost too. Is key at Ubisoft. And to the point where, when Notre Dame was burning, because of, I think it was Origin. No, it wasn't Origin. It was before that. It was Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Syndicate. They took so much time and effort to recreate Notre Dame in that game, the Notre Dame, that they actually had all the assets to send immediately to the construction crew that was going to rebuild.
Yeah, here you go.
And so Ubisoft is directly involved in restoring Notre Dame, which is hilarious.
Everything's already pre-done in 3D, completely accurate. Here you go.
Exactly,
This is
because
how you
of
rebuild
Assassin's
this.
Creed. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. This is how you rebuild it. So that's awesome. So Andrewsito, tell me about DC Universe. What's going on with them?
Movie-wise, TV-wise?
Well,
what do you mean?
the service. DC.
Okay, so to make it short and simple, Warner Brothers owns DC in the same way that Disney owns Marvel. Warner Brothers is going to be coming out with their own streaming service, which is going to include things from WB or CW, basically all of those things that Warner Brothers owned. And then on top of that, all of the DC animated movies, all of those are Warner Brothers. The Batman animated series from back in the day, DC's rich TV and movie history is primarily owned by Warner Brothers. So for Warner Brothers to come out with their own, and you know, I don't even have to go into the number of cartoons and movies and everything else that Warner Brothers owns. From, you can go as far back as forever for us, for our age group.
Yeah.
When you put all that stuff together and you want to create your own streaming service and you want to go up against Disney Plus, is going to be huge. I mean, that's the big dog now. But even looking at Netflix and Hulu and these other streaming services that are already basically up and running and have a large number of subscribers, you want to make it as attractive as possible. So when WB actually releases their streaming service, the best thing they could possibly do is not separate their customer base by having DC as a separate thing.
Yeah.
So my guess is, because I didn't know until you put that in our list that DC was going to end their streaming service.
Yeah, I was very surprised because it's brand new.
Well, it made perfect sense to me because I already knew WB was going to release their streaming service. So it
why
didn't
go
make
through the
sense for me
trouble
to
to
have...
establish DC Universe at all, if that's what you're going to do anyway?
Because personally, I think they had delusions of grandeur, to be honest. I think they thought, oh, everybody's going to sign up for DC, and no, nobody gives a damn about DC, really. I mean, the stuff is great, but the movies you can get on Netflix and a lot of other streaming services, the shows, yeah, they've been getting some decent clout. Doom Patrol especially is supposed to be pretty good. But when it's kind of like CBS is throwing all their cards into Twilight Zone and Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
You have a couple of really big, really great shows, but is that worth people paying a certain amount of money every month from now until the end of their days to watch those two shows? You know,
not really.
And so from WB's perspective, if you look at, if they can incorporate all of the DC universe with everything they have from CW and I think UPN even is WB. Like, if you go through all of WB's movie catalog and a lot of their IP, to put all that into one service, you all of a sudden you're a contender. You know, all of a sudden you have something that a lot of people can't compete with, especially if you're a DC fanboy. It adds to the value that you were already going to get from the DC service if you can add all that WB stuff with it also. And I imagine anybody that is a subscriber is just going to roll into that. I don't think they're going to completely kill it. I think they're going to evolve it, and then that's going to be the streaming service, is WB's service.
Okay, so that means that all the Arrow and Flash, all that stuff is going to get pulled off of Netflix?
It's possible. Well, you know, because you cut the cord a long time ago. All that stuff was already pulled off of Hulu.
Well, I do have Hulu too, but yeah, I don't get that stuff on Hulu.
Yeah, it was pulled. It used to be there, but all the CW stuff was pulled. The funny thing is, though, they took a different tactic. Instead of putting all their cards into one of the streaming servers, CW actually, if you download their app, everything is free, including the, I can't remember what they call it. They have their own streaming service also that's like a plus thing. You get, there's some animated Constantine stuff on there, and all of the old shows that used to be on like midnight and
Smallville.
Like, yeah, but even way before that, like it wasn't midnight, Moonlight, the one with the vampire detective and the crazy older stuff is all there that you can stream whole seasons of these old CW shows and WB shows for free, and it's completely free. You know, most of the time with these services, you have to use your provider as sort of a login. Yeah. And that's the way that they make sure you're paying in some way to go to the company. But CW bypassed all that. They said we don't care. You can have everything that we do for free, and they put out that app. The funny thing is, if WB's service poaches that stuff, then that's a big question. Oh, that's something that's kind of in the air. Are they going to pull all that in the same way that Disney is doing with Marvel stuff? Yeah. To where nobody else can do this, or it's looking more like DC and WB is going to be like the Microsoft strategy now, where everybody can have our stuff. But if you want all of our stuff in the same place, then buy our service.
Okay. So I guess the big question is Netflix going to stay relevant, or are they going away eventually because they can't compete with the other services?
The only thing I would add to that conversation is they just this past week inked a deal with Dark Horse Comics. So
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big deal. That's one of the ways that they're going to combat DC and WB. I mean, DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
Is by inking with Dark Horse. And I was a Dark Horse collector way back in the day, in the old Boris the Bear days, which I highly recommend if nobody knows who Boris the Bear is, to look him up. He killed all the Care Bears, which is immediately a hero in my book. Yeah, fantastic. But Umbrella Academy is the big star right now on Netflix, and that was a Dark Horse comic. And if that's the route they're going to go with more mature comic lines and more mature IP, then that definitely is a separator. That's not Flights and Tights. You know, that's something completely different. And
but Amazon is competing with that directly with The Boys.
Yeah, and so is Hulu. Hulu now has Marvel seasons coming on. I can't remember the ones that signed up, but there are legit Marvel shows that are coming straight to Hulu now.
But I mean, are they edgy for like adults, like The Boys? And
yeah, supposedly. Not as edgy as The Boys, obviously, but The Boys. The funny thing to that is, to me, that was to compete with Umbrella Academy and the direction that Netflix is trying to go now. And Netflix has always been. I don't know if you guys have known this because they've been real kind of hush hush about it, but they've been really funny if you look at it. That it's the strategy. They've been genre portrayers where they're looking for sci-fi and horror. Netflix has been pushing sci-fi and horror, and then they've also been pushing foreign shows and foreign films.
Yeah,
because those two routes, the sci-fi and the horror, and the foreign stuff, they know Disney's not going to throw their hat in.
Yeah, Train to Busan, for example. That freaking thing was awesome.
It's a Korean movie. That movie's fantastic.
And Kandyman, what was that anime that you showed, Adriana, that was really cool?
Oh, yeah, I really did like that one.
What was the name of that one? It was also a train thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was another train one. It was...
I remember that was really good.
It'll come back to me. Yeah, I actually checked the other day. I haven't seen if there's an update to it for a while.
And well,
it's pretty interesting. I do think the services are getting heavily fragmented. I mean, I can honestly tell you that I basically don't think there's going to be anything that I will need to buy. You know, like even Disney Plus is really cheap, and Disney, I promise you, Disney's going to jack up the prices on Disney Plus. This is just to get the first hits free kind of situation.
Yeah, that's going to be insane. So now that we're talking about Disney, let's segue into Star Wars. The big announcements came through the last couple of days, right? They disclosed that we're going to have another trilogy, 3 more episodes starting in 2022, right? Every other year. And also, what's the other series that's going to run parallel to that? Avatar, right?
Yep. They're going to alternate years.
And they also announced the Marvel schedule. Like, they didn't announce what the movies will be, although there's some speculation that there'll definitely be a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple of other sequels. There's going to be the Scarlett Johansson one, the Black Widow prequel or whatever.
Yeah.
But they already announced the Marvel schedule for, like, the next 3 or 4 years as well.
Well, and the funny side note to that, too, is... I can't remember how many movies there were, but in that same press release when they were talking about it, there was the number of Marvel movies that are coming. But the one thing people didn't really talk about was Sony's deal with Disney. Was they can use the Spider-Man franchise for a limited amount of time, but they have to have a movie come out within 3 years of each other. So in that timeline that Disney released, 2 movies are going to be Spider-Man. They only announced the one that's coming out, but there has to be another one within 3 years. So one of those other movies is the next Spider-Man also.
So if they don't, then they lose it, and then Sony gets to do Spider-Man again?
Then the rights go back to Sony. So that's the funny part is, okay, everybody's speculating, well, it could be, what's his name? The Kung Fu guy. There's a new Kung Fu Marvel hero that's coming. He's going to be one of the movies. They're speculating that Doctor Strange 2 and Black Panther
Doctor
2.
Strange 2 was pretty confidently going to be on the list.
Exactly. And so when you narrow it down, you basically have those movies. You know what they are going to be because one of them has to be Spider-Man also, which is kind of funny.
Well, and apparently the other thing they said, which is a little interesting, apparently there's going to be a new, they're going to reboot Avengers, which I think is insanity at this point.
Right.
They're already saying there's going to be a new cast Avengers movie.
Yeah, which don't talk about it because we don't want to spoil anything for Kandyman, but yeah, that's in the pipe also. But the funny thing is, all the other movies that they're setting up could feed into that. So that it doesn't even matter if that's on that time plan or coming after it, because they're basically doing the same thing they did with all of the early MCU movies.
Wow.
Although they also said that this Infinity Gauntlet the Infinity Gauntlet saga that they're doing is taken straight from the comics. So apparently, I think this was like this was like story arc 3 or something, and apparently they've got like a new story set up. Because the one thing that Marvel's done that a lot of people have argued the reason that Star Wars has not been anywhere near as good as the Marvel universe is because the Marvel movies all intersect. They all are a part of kind of a combined, even if not completely directly part of it, they all at least, tangentially intersect with a cosmic scheme. There's an entire, they're going somewhere. Yeah. Everyone's going there kind of together, maybe in their own way, but they're all part of the same journey. And whereas Star Wars has completely failed at that, they've just made a bunch of, standalone movies like Solo, and they've made everything they've done is, and DC honestly too. Both of those universes have not had the coordination where that they've actually come up with something intelligent and tied their, put a grander direction in play rather than just, I'll make a movie and see if it sells.
Yeah, I think DC was just trying to catch up, and they should have just done their own thing, I think.
Well, Marvel's also kind of sowed the seeds for the unrelated movies to cross over at some point too. So the Sony-owned franchises like Venom and the upcoming Morbius and like all that stuff that's kind of side movies that are based on characters from Spider-Man and from X-Men and from these other things that now they've kind of splintered them off by themselves. Disney's doing some what I thought originally was really stupid, but now it's quite genius things to be able to pull those things in at some point if they want to.
Oh wow, yeah, that's awesome. You can pull in
just to kind of interject, so I looked it up. So the series we were talking about, which really was quite good, and it looks like there's some new episodes, by the way. It's called Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Yeah, that was.
It's a really good zombie. It's a steampunk zombie anime. It's and there's so little steampunk. I adore steampunk, and it's really there ain't much to go around, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, I want to add that to my queue. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, Adriana actually liked it so much she was watching it by herself, and the fact that it's dubbed, Adriana doesn't like to watch anything that's sub-dubbed, and she was there watching the whole thing. So
it's on Amazon. By the way, it's on Amazon. It's one of the few. It's actually like it's on Amazon, but it's totally watchable.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then let's wrap up with, there's a couple of Star Wars news here and there. There was a Star Wars celebration, and they were interviewing the voice actor that played Admiral Akbar.
Yeah,
and
I heard about
he
that.
took issue with them killing him in the way they did in Last Jedi, and he got shut the hell up by Disney. Basically, you're like, what are you doing talking about? You're not supposed to be talking about this. Basically, you're not supposed to be ragging on us. But I don't know. I thought it was funny that. In my opinion, yes, I agree with the guy. I think Admiral Akbar should have been the one to say that. It's like they're purposely killing every character that belongs to us and saying your characters don't matter anymore. These new characters are going to be for the next generation, and you people that started with the original Star Wars movies, we don't care about you. That's the message I'm getting. I don't know if you guys are getting any of it, but it feels like
that's exactly. No, I was talking. Was it you, Andres? I was talking about, or was it one of my other? I don't know if this is like a deja vu or not, because I had the same discussion with someone else. Same exact discussion. I mean, basically, it seems like that the movie. Oh, I'm sorry. It was it was my work friend that I talked to a lot. We were saying that I was complaining that I didn't feel like the Star Wars movies were for us anymore. And he said, "Well, no, they're for they're basically for the current children, They basically don't care about us. And I mean, I completely agree with you. I literally had this discussion with a coworker this week that they don't care about us, that they not at all. It's all about kids and selling toys and, new subscribers. They don't care about us.
But they're just telling us to screw off. Like, up front, they're just saying, we don't care about you guys and screw off. But guess who watches your movies, man? Guess who grew up watching those movies, Guess who made up the original fan force of this stuff,
That's why I'm hoping the new trilogy goes back to KOTOR, but basically thousands of years earlier, but does the same thing for all the people that like the new trilogy.
Yeah, and then Mark Hamill was given a hard time because he posted a picture where he put like all the old guys in the Millennium Falcon. Like, this is what should have been done, like Lando should have been put in, Han Solo and Leia and Mark Hamill should have been together again in the Falcon. Not that Lando was together with Hamill in the Falcon anyway, but they all should be. That was a missed opportunity. That's what he said. Missed opportunity, like to bring all these original characters and to put them together. And how did they not do that? Honestly, and
it's kind of sad that they're bringing them all back, but just not at the same time. Like you should have just brought them all back at least for a moment. All of them. Yeah,
kill them off if you want to, but at least give us that little sweet, opportunity. Yeah. Like them talking to each other again, hugging, cracking jokes at each other. Even if it's just a little meet and greet. And then they can go on with the story, but they didn't give us that. They denied us all that stuff, and then they said, here's our bland new characters, you must like them. And I don't know. They're not resonating with me as much as they should. I mean, it's not that the new characters are bad, it's just that I don't feel like they have set personalities. I can't tell you who they are. I don't know, I just don't identify with them. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But anyway, so that was Star Wars. Andrewsito, you want to tell us a little bit about Vampire the Masquerade?
Oh, I don't really have much to say other than I did go ahead and purchase the old game. I never played it.
Oh, okay. I have it on my wish list.
I didn't even... I installed it, but I haven't even played it yet. School and life got in the way, so I didn't even really get into it. But from what I've heard, the sequel that's coming out is supposed to be... There's a lot of buzz around it. It's supposed to be really, really good.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was actually reading on an article of PC Gamer, and they were talking about the second game. I'm like, wait a second, I remember hearing about the first game, and apparently the first game is not bad at all.
No, it's a deep, I don't know, action RPG, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like an urban setting where you go around, but then you have to pay attention to, there's like a whole covenant of vampires, and you have to kind of follow the rules. Because if you kill too many people, you're gonna attract attention, and the vampires don't necessarily want you to attract attention, and so you have to toe the line, or you can go rogue and just start killing everything. But I think the vampire clans or whatever, they'll start sending people after you, or something. So I don't know. That sounds really cool. That whole setting.
I thought so too, and I thought so enough to buy the old game, but I still haven't even had a chance to really get into it.
How much is the old game?
Oh, it was really cheap. I can't remember now, but it's on Steam. You get it on Steam.
Okay. Well, I'll check it out. I think I have it on my wish list, so... Cool. Now, talking about games that are coming up here, there was a game similar to There Are Billions, which is called Conan Unconquered. It's a real-time strategy. But the thing, in There Are Billions, basically you can only play alone, and then you start building a base, and then you get waves of enemies, of zombies, that start getting progressively harder and more numerous and tougher enemies. Now, Conan did the same thing with this Unconquered real-time strategy game, except that you can play co-op. So in the beginning, you can control your own side of the base, and then eventually you can both build your own bases, I think. And then you just get a bunch of enemies from the Conan universe thrown at you. And it looks really cool. I saw a little video of people playing it. It looks really awesome. So I think that's something I'm definitely going to buy. I think that Leaf will get a kick out of that game. They're playing co-op. And then I think we're getting to the end of this thing, unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on. What Steam game, we're talking about Steam and the competition with Epic and what Steam needs to do to, or if they're going to do anything to rise up to the challenge that Epic has started. So we have, there was a fake trailer for a Left 4 Dead 3 thing, And then people have been waiting for Half-Life 3 forever. Are they going to do a Portal 3, Team Fortress 3, Dota 3? What's up with Valve not making a third game of anything that they make?
I have a theory.
What's that?
Well, you guys know the Valve is separated with HTC and has created their own VR headset.
Yeah.
That's $1,000 for the whole set. It's only $500 if you just buy the HMD, but you get the whole set. It's $1,000. So to me, the only way really to entice somebody to spend $1,000 on something they don't need, if they have a Vive or an Oculus, because all of their games are playable with both, is to come out with basically Left 5 Dead. I think Left 4 Dead, the next Left 4 Dead, is going to come out as a virtual reality game for their headset.
That would be pretty cool.
That's my prediction.
But you're talking about that not being a regular game at all, right? It's just going to be exclusively for the VR?
Exactly. And so they're going to try to get people to spend $1,000 on their headset to play the new Left 4 Dead.
Well, I was talking to Ethan about this the other day. I was looking at all the, because a couple of things dropped on the VR helmets, like I like to call them. There was the standalone Oculus, right? The one with no wires that doesn't require a PC to play. But
Quest.
But they still have the glitchy graphics, the Mickey Mouse gloves, the twitchy hands. And I'm like, dude, I'm ready for somebody to make a real freaking game for VR. I'm tired of the gimmicks. I want a real game. I want something that, like Doom, for example. I want to play Doom, and I know that Doom is compatible with the Oculus, right? But I want, like you're saying, make a Left 4 Dead, make an actual full-length PC game that feels like you're actually in the freaking game, full throttle VR. I think VR.
I've got a few that I can put on your head right now in the Oculus Rift.
Oh, really? What are those?
Oh, yeah. And then the Oculus Go is going to have... the Oculus Quest is going to have 3 that I know off the top of my head right now that'll do that for you also.
Because I'm ready for the next step. I'm tired of the gimmicky stuff. And I do think that VR is the future of gaming, but they need to hurry up and start committing to that a little bit harder.
So I'm a VR enthusiast. I've got a Rift, and I've played a lot over the last 4 years or so. Mm-hmm. And there were things that came out years ago that I think will blow your mind just because you haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, maybe not. The videos that I see are not telling me on any of this stuff.
You can't trust videos when it comes to VR. That's the main thing. Even PlayStation VR, it won't look that crazy to you when you watch a video, but when you put that headset on, it's different. You'll see. I'll turn you around. I'll put some stuff on for you that'll open your eyes.
Okay. Well,
the thing is, though, he won't use the Rift because it has a cable.
Oh yeah, I want cable-less stuff.
So the next podcast that we do, I will be able to talk about the Quest.
Okay.
Ooh.
Because I've already pre-ordered mine.
What?
Ooh!
Are you serial?
Like I said, I'm a VR enthusiast. I've been in it for a long time, and I've been waiting for the Quest. I was going to try to take it with me to China because that's a 14-hour flight that I would have been digging my VR, but I have an Oculus Go also. So for me, I'm just going to be watching Netflix on my Go and pretending like there's not a giant fat dude on top of me for 14 hours.
Gross. I hope you wear protection.
Just imagining you like walking around the cabin of a plane with your thing on, and then there's like turbulence.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, that was one of the reasons why I started using my Go on flights. Is because of the turbulence and because of some of the random bad flight issues that I've had over the past, like being sandwiched in like a sardine. I'm not that small of a dude, and to be honest, using the Oculus Go has helped with just that feeling of being trapped. It's I've had some really packed flights, especially going to New York. I've had some really packed flights, and putting on the Go and whether I'm just playing a game in there or just putting on the meditation thing, it doesn't matter. Or watching a movie, it does something to you. It tricks your mind. You don't feel as trapped. And the only bad thing is I've had some flights where the plane would go completely sideways, or the plane would do some crazy, really bad turbulence. And so the Oculus Go works just like any other AR thing, like your phone. There's a gyroscope in there, So it sucks when you're watching something and then all of a sudden your view flips sideways. The good thing is there's a reset button on the little controller, so you can reset where your point of view is. But it doesn't help for that one quick, shot to your stomach where all of a sudden your whole world spins or turns. That's not good, and that sucks. But I can tell you, man, that there's something, especially for people that travel. There's something to that wireless VR that's really helpful on a plane or train, bus, whatever else. As long as you don't, worry about looking real stupid because you got this big thing strapped to your head.
So what about the battery life? I mean, how long can you go on with that thing?
So the battery life already is pretty good. On the go, I've never drained it completely, but what I did for this flight to China that I'm about to take is I bought a 20,000 one of the lithium chargers. So I'm just going to have that in my backpack, so I can just plug it in midway through the flight. Okay. I imagine it's probably going to last me 5 or 6 hours, and then I'll have to plug it in.
Okay.
And it's the same thing with my phone and my tablet and anything else that I have. I just have that external charger that I can plug in and not worry about it.
But now most planes have that little charger at your seat, right?
Right. And so if I have it, I'm not even worried if I'll have my adapter. But just in case, I brought a battery backup. But flying within the States, just from here, I'm in Texas. I flew from Texas to New York and used that Oculus Go the whole flight without any problem.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So I know for a fact 3-4 hours, probably even 5 hours, it's fine. I never ran out of battery life.
Okay, cool. And then,
but next time we meet, I will be able to talk about the Quest.
Yeah. Well, next time you come over to my house to play Gloomhaven, hopefully you'll have more time once you get back from China. I mean, I don't know. But did you see the Ghost Recon trailer that came out?
I didn't watch the trailer. I did hear the news, and that's funny that you bring it up because isn't that game also an Epic exclusive?
Yes, another Epic exclusive. Ghost Recon Breakpoint out October 4th. I don't know if it's a time like I say at this point I don't know what's a time exclusive and what's like a full for example Anno 18 is it 1800 Anno 1800. I think that's that'll be a forever exclusive because you can only buy it on Epic or on the Uplay.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, I've already got a Uplay library anyway, so I would go to my Uplay library before I go to Epic anyway.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Go ahead.
Although I do go to Epic for their free games, I just load those up twice a month. So I do have an Epic account with nothing but a library of free games that I haven't paid them for.
I think I'm refusing on general principle just to touch Epic at all. I don't.
That's funny.
Until this thing is over, I'm disgusted by them right now, honestly. But what I was saying is that I've been playing City Skylines on Steam. I bought it for like $2 when it was on sale, and City Skylines is really cool. It's a lot better than SimCity, the latest SimCity that came out, which was like 6 years ago. Was that when that SimCity came out? Because it doesn't limit you to your little plot of land or whatever. And that SimCity was really easy to play. It was really easy to stabilize your town and whatever. It wasn't really very realistic animation or I guess simulation of real life. City Skylines keeps you on your feet, and you can actually buy plots of land unlimitedly, so you can just keep growing and growing and growing the city. The only thing that I realized, because I played the first SimCity back in 1990, 1991. That I still remember that first SimCity. That was very cool. But in my opinion, that open sandbox thing always has the limit of, okay, I kind of mastered the basic things and I'm done with the sandbox. Yes, I can make prettier buildings, I can buy some DLC or get some mods and make my buildings look prettier. But in terms of gameplay, it's just kind of like it doesn't offer that extra challenge or that, not challenge per se, but flavor. And when I was looking at Anno 1800 or whatever, Anno, that does have the flavor that I've been looking for. Because you feel like you're immersed in a setting and then there's other people around you that are doing things to you, for you, or against you, and that you can work with. And that's something that I've been missing in the city simulators. So that you can actually make trade agreements with people and at some point it almost plays a little bit like a civilization game combined with a city building game, and I think that's what I was missing. So I've been wanting to get that annual game just to try it out and see.
The funny thing is, your comment can make me bring this whole thing full circle back to Days Gone.
Okay.
That's where all the complaints come from, basically. So to some people, they've basically seen everything this game, in a way, has to offer within the first few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've said, I'm tens of hours into it.
Yeah.
So for me personally, and I'm a solo gamer, which probably has a lot to it also, but that game to me is more than the sum of its parts. That game to me, I like being in that world. I like experiencing the things that I'm doing, however repetitive they are. It doesn't matter to me because I like it. And I think that's similar to what you're saying about SimCity and that other game, because Skylines. And I have that game too. Yeah, Skylines. I got Skylines through a Humble Bundle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's similar to that. That if you enjoy the world that you're playing in, it doesn't necessarily matter that what you're doing isn't making leap and bounds from moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is progression, there is new things, but there are hours in between. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty far apart. So if you're not enjoying the world, then obviously, you're going to be done immediately and say, you know what, I've got other things I want to spend my time on, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And that's why, as a caveat, games like Days Gone, I say they are for me. That's my kind of game, and I love it. But those complaints that you hear and the so-so reviews are all valid. And I think that's the same thing with Skylines and with SimCity. Like you'll probably get a SimCity expert that loves the game and lives in it and will tell you, this is the game for me.
Yeah.
But like you said, if it's not pushing that button for you, why waste so much time in it?
Yeah, I think it would have pushed that button for a younger me, but the modern me expects a little bit more. It wants more out of its setting. It wants more of a feel to it.
Yeah.
And so I want that feel. But you could make a similar argument about Metal Gear Solid 5, where the gameplay is a lot of fun. You could call it highly repetitive, but I would say that it doesn't feel like that to me. I feel like every time I go out there, I look for new strategies, and it's on me to figure out how to best enjoy the game. And so Metal Gear Solid, you can say all day that you're playing the same mission over and over again. You could, but it feels a lot more satisfying to me than, let's say, Ghost Recon Wildlands. When I was playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, I was having less fun, especially when I was playing alone. And I'm like, well, you know what? This seems just like punching a checklist. Whereas with Metal Gear Solid 5, I don't feel like I'm punching a checklist because I'm having fun while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So I'm not thinking about the checklist. I'm just playing it. With Ghost Recon Wildlands, I always felt like, okay, you gotta do this missions, check these missions, check those missions, check that. You know, it felt like I was checking boxes and not having as much fun. Of course, Wildlands is a lot different when you play it with friends. It becomes a lot more fun. Metal Gear Solid, you just play it alone, but I think Metal Gear Solid is a better game than Wildlands, even though Wildlands came after it. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, I think we're getting to the end of the podcast. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on? Did we miss anything that you guys want to talk about?
Nope.
Everybody's good?
Yep.
So this is the point in the podcast where I thank everybody for showing up and not being super drunk before we start the podcast and, enjoy everything. So, Andrewsito, you're leaving for China the 18th?
Whatever Wednesday is. I'm leaving dark 30 in the morning on Wednesday. Okay,
and then I'm trying to talk Kandyman into coming for October so he can be part of our H.P. Lovecraft trial, and maybe we can go get arrested at the Renfest again. Well, whatever. That's a story for a different time. But yeah, it should be fun. So, okay, guys. Thanks for playing. I think Kandyman and I will hop into Deep Rock Galactic in a little bit. And if Mopi's awake, and then we're gonna go to Comic Palooza tomorrow, and so the next podcast I'm gonna talk about Comic Palooza, and then you'll talk about VR, and I don't know, Kandyman is gonna talk about more gaming stuff, right?
Yeah, mostly.
So, okay.
More, whatever evil things Epic does.
Yep.
I'm sure there'll be something.
And then Ethansito is gonna talk to us about all the little indie games he's playing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, thanks for coming.
Right on.
And I'm going to stop recording right 3, 2, 1. Stop.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mutant Donkey podcast. If you'd like to contact us, please send us an email at mutantdonkey@gmail.com. That's Mutant Donkey with a 3 instead of an E at gmail.com. We will also put this email address in the show notes. Thank you.